I know.
Bad day, wasn't it?
You really read the room wrong.
Not a day for cutting the grass, isn't it?
No, but you're all set. You're not here next week.
I can cut my grass.
Next week?
What? Cut my grass, I might.
Nah. So what? So you're off for a week? You're not going
I'm
to
off
yourself.
for a week, yeah. I'm going to England for 2 days.
Wow,
taking
fantastic.
Noah away and Lee and Claire, and we're going away for a couple of days.
Very good.
Be nice.
Okay, and who's replacing you?
That boy there.
Hey, Marty Friel. How are you getting on now, Marty?
Come on, close to the microphone there now.
I'm enjoying the conversation between you two.
He's like he treats you. He's treating you like you haven't been doing this all of your life, isn't it? Like,
I'm saying nothing.
No, but Greg, you know, it's nice. There's wee ins and outs and
there's a
stuff.
balance, though. There's a balance.
What do you mean the balance?
Well, you treat him like he's 14 and he's just come in for his first day at school.
No, but it's nice to be prepped up so you know what you're going into. You know, he'll have crack and fun and that, and he knows the secret sound as well. I have to tell him the answer now.
3 people know it now, at least.
No, what do you mean 3? Who's the third?
Kevin Fury knows it.
He knows it, right? That's 1.
Then
me,
Marty Friel.
and me.
That's 3.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay.
All right, Lee, have a great week off.
You too.
And Marty, look
Cheers.
forward to seeing you Monday. Okay. Our Friday panel is about to join us to look over some of the big stories of the week and of the day. But first, let's get a news update. We'll cross over now to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Public Expenditure Minister says it's important Defective concrete block homeowners are treated as potentially vulnerable mortgage customers and dealt with accordingly. Minister Michael McGrath met this week with the Banking and Insurance Redress Focus Group. He was responding to Donegal Deputy Pearse Doherty, who has called for bespoke arrangements recognising the unique circumstances of affected homeowners to be put in place by banks. Despite the implementation deadline for the Defective concrete block grant scheme regulations being missed, Minister McGrath says they are close to finalisation. He's pledged to continue to work on finding a resolution for affected mortgage holders.
Just the anxiety, the stress, the anguish that they are having to live with every day. So if I can help in any way, as I've said before, to make the process more palatable and more accessible for them, I'll certainly do that. So I'll take an ongoing interest in this, and I'll work with you and your colleagues and the Homeowners Action Group to try and deal with these mortgage issues as best I can.
A Scottish company has announced it is to open a new base in Donegal. Be Positive will officially open in G-Tech Gweedore on Tuesday. IT Services Company Director Colin Quinn says being based in Donegal gives them access to a highly educated and talented workforce. RTÉ's former commercial director says he's shocked by the revelations from the broadcaster. It admitted to undeclared payments to Ryan Tubridy of €345,000 between 2017 and 2022. An emergency meeting of members of the National Union of Journalists working for RTÉ will be held today. Former Group Commercial Director at RTÉ, Willie O'Reilly, says it leaves a number of questions.
Who thought this was a good idea? In any company of RTÉ's size, there are a number of risks. Finance is one, but reputation is right up there. People have got to be brought in front of the pack. There has to be some kind of internal investigation, and there has to be an external independent investigation too.
The first turbine has been installed at Lenalea Wind Farm. It's expected the 7-turbine development will be operational by the last quarter of this year, and when complete it will generate enough renewable energy to power 20,000 homes annually. The remaining 6 turbines have been pre-assembled and are scheduled to be fully installed by the end of June. Finally, for weather, cloudy today with outbreaks of rain and drizzle, turning heavy at times. Warm and humid with highs of 20 to 22 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Nipping out to get bin bags.
We've got some.
Well, I'd better take the dog out.
But we don't have a dog.
Okay. The double Big Mac is back at McDonald's.
Right, get the keys.
The Double Big Mac and the new Double Big Mac with bacon are here for a limited time. Don't miss it. Available until the 1st of August. Served after 11 a.m. Subject to availability. Participating restaurants only.
The county's #1 talk show. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, and it's a very good morning at 3 minutes past 9 on this Friday, the 23rd of June, 2023. How are you doing? I hope you're all very well indeed, and hopefully we can enjoy your company now for the next 3 hours on the 9 till noon show, where we'll keep you informed, entertained, and hopefully platform your views and opinions as well. The lines are open for you right now to get involved in the conversation. conversation. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text 086 60 25,000. If you've got a view on anything we're talking about or want to raise your own conversations, you can also call us. Today we've got Donna Marie and Neve taking those calls on 07491 25,000. And if email is your thing, well, it's comments@highlandradio.com. And for those of you who it suits, you can watch this show today and every day. You can go to our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, where you'll get to see the guests who we're speaking to, across our Facebook pages as well, Highland Radio News and Sport and Highland Hub. And you can also click watch live on our website. So no excuses, whether you watch, listen, whatever you might do. Okay, let's introduce our panel for this morning, and I can say it every week because it's true, it is another cracker. We'll say good morning first to John McAteer, editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune. John, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
How are you keeping?
I'm grand, thanks.
Very, very good indeed. Damian Dodge, the editor of the Inishowen Independent. Hi, Damian.
How are you getting on, Greg?
Great to have you on board as always, of course. And Mary T. Sweeney, N2 rep in Donegal and campaigner as well. I think I'll stick that one in if you don't mind. Mary T., good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg, and good morning to all the listeners.
Right, great to have you with us. All right. As hundreds of RTE staff were told that the company was losing money hand over fist and that they would have to take a cut in their relatively modest salaries, RTE were cooking up a secret deal that would see Ryan Tubridy paid off the books to a tune of €345,000 over the last short number of years. That information was kept from those staff I talked of, the public who pay these wages, and the Oireachtas. Mr. Tubridy says it's a matter for RTE. Apparently, he didn't notice that he was being paid significantly more than he must have been aware was being publicly reported. He's taken today off. It's not clear if he's going to go to work next week. He said publicly in 2019 that he wouldn't be found wanting in taking a pay cut, but as it turns out, he really didn't take that pay cut at all. This news emerges as, during a cost of living crisis, RTE is seeking the public to pay more for a service that many don't even use. RTE rakes it in from PPV now through the GEA Go, of course, and many would feel it's reneging on its own commitment to openness and transparency. Right, so Mary T. Sweeney, first, your reaction to this story.
Oh dear, where do we start with RTE? Are you going to give the whole hour over to it for me? Because I could be given out for the hour about RTE. It's a dysfunctional organisation. Now we understand that the accountancy doesn't work either. And then when I had a quick look to see what's been going on since they sold the land, I see that in the report they did in 2019, a year after they sold 9 acres for 107.5 million, they were paying $3 million per year in security fees to look after that. Who could write it? It's absolutely unbelievable. It seems that what do you call him, Ryan? Graham Norton had been saying on air that Ryan Tubridy wasn't being paid enough. It would now appear that they must have somebody listened in a back office to Graham Norton and thought we'll give Ryan a big backhander here. It's disgraceful. It's a disgraceful. And you mentioned the crisis, the economic crisis in Ireland at the moment, and there's a genuine crisis with people in their homes. And it's an insult to even ask people to pay more money. And maybe we should consider the defunding of RTE and let them realise what it's like to sustain and have to be responsible for their biased broadcasting that they present, because I think it is biased.
It's not just RTE this affects, though, because there was a recent report that showed there was more of a trust of the media in Ireland than there might be elsewhere. These types of stories don't only impact RTE, though, they arguably impact everyone.
Completely. And to think that their biggest concern seems to be in how to resolve their pension crisis. Like, you know what I mean? There has to be accountability. And who will be held accountable? This is the history of dealing with a crisis in Ireland. It is collective accountability, so nobody has their head ruled. Nobody will be held responsible. And yet there will probably be an inquiry that will cost another couple of 100,000 or maybe perhaps $1 million. When will the Irish people say, no, wait a minute, enough is enough?
We learned this week.
The format. We know the format.
Yeah, we learnt this week off the back of the Brandon report that no one will be held accountable for that because people have either retired or left their position. And is it a coincidence then? And I'm not conflating these two issues. Is it a coincidence that Ryan Tubridy's just happened to step down as the host of the RTE Late Late Show, and that Dee Forbes is also making way? I mean, I'm not saying all of those things are connected, but I think the public at this point might start wondering, well, are they? I mean, it all seems very convenient.
There's a bigger coincidence. Is it a coincidence that there's been a Donegal woman thrown under the helm at the very last minute in the last year that has uncovered all of this? And fair dues to her for uncovering it. We have to admire her for uncovering it. But we also must ask who all knew that she was going to be left with unravelling this. And I don't know the lady personally, but other than she's from Donegal, and it's a tremendous achievement to get to that level in Dublin, which has been very hostile to Donegal on several avenues. I would think continuously hostile, not alone on health and on services.
Yeah.
But to think that this lady, I would think that she has been created in this position within the last year. Ryan Tubridy's gone. There's too many common denominators that would make me think this was well planned in advance. Somebody knew about it. And what accountants are responsible? Who signed the paperwork?
Well, I mean, obviously, management have to be involved in this. Anyway, I'll come back to you to see what happens next. And just for context, by the way, and for those who may not be aware, we have access to all of the newspapers here every morning. And this story is on the front of it and across numerous inside pages of the paper. So this is not something I'm individually amplifying. And I do understand there's a personality in here as well that a lot of people would have a strong positive feelings for as well, so there might be some confliction as to how people feel about this story. But how does Damian Dodge, the editor of the Inishowen Independent, feel about this story?
I only heard it on the radio this morning, and surprised, not surprised. I think the timing of it, Greg, as you mentioned, is interesting. It's probably more to do with the new whatever it is, chief executive of RTE coming in than it is to do with Ryan Tubridy's probably stepping down from the Late Late Show. It just shows you that somehow RTE, who had to be badgered for years into revealing the salaries of their talent, as they call it, have for the last, since 2017, it looks like, been kind of cooking the books there. And they're saying that, so Tubridy is the top of, the top 10 or the top 20 highest paid earners in the station have their salaries reported. Tubridy's the top of that tree. Apparently, they're saying that none of the other top 9 have anything different on theirs. But, could you trust the word of it at this stage? So I think the breach of trust, like RTE gets 160 quid off every household in the country that has a television in it. So it gets a lot of money from us citizens. They are able as well to get other income from the government. They obviously do a lot of advertising and are dominant probably in the television and the radio advertising sphere. So they get a lot of money coming directly from the public, some coming from the private sector. And they have to be accountable, and they do be accountable, and they are brought in and they regularly have to come before the Oireachtas. And it looks now like they've been misleading the public, the politicians and the rest. And it's going to be very hard to see how RTE can rebuild that trust. For years they've been looking to increase the €160 licence fee, and I mean that will be entirely out the window now over the head of this. It looks like they've been giving Ryan Tubridy under-declared his wages by 20,000 in 2017, 50,000 in both 2018 and 2019, and 56,250 in 2020, according to David McCullough on the RT News last night. Those are sums of money that, for a lot of people, that's their annual income.
Well, can I put it into context? Because a producer on the Late Late Show, for an example, the average wage is €32,000 per year. That rises up to the top scale, which is 55,000. Now, you have to have 12 years of service as a producer on the Late Late Show before you would achieve that. So the majority of people are earning 32 odd. As I say, in 2019, he said he would not be found wanting in taking a pay cut. He didn't take a pay cut as he must have known was actually being advertised out there. I would say some of the staff of the Late Late Show are feeling a little bit bitter this morning, hurt this morning with that news.
I'd say all across that organisation is there. Look, I've never really understood why the talent, as RT likes to call it, is paid at the rates that they're paid.
Well, they say that, you see, if they don't pay them, Today FM, News Talk, the BBC, I even heard Fox News being mentioned in relation to Pat Kenny, that they will come on and they will drag them out of the country and will lose that talent.
I'd say let them go and don't let the door close on the way behind them. because none of them are that bloody good that I've ever seen that has really drawn me, and that makes me think that boy there is worth his $500,000. Mary T mentioned that. Look, it's a personal thing. I don't particularly watch the Late Late Show with Ryan Tubridy on. I'm actually looking forward to seeing how Paddy Keelty handles it. No, I have no problem, particularly with Ryan Tubridy. I just don't like his presentation manner. I've never really liked it. But so I don't take a look at him and think, geez, that boy there's worth $500,000. Graham Norton, you mentioned Mary T. I do occasionally watch his programme on BBC, and I will get a laugh out of it, like, you know, and I wonder, like, I don't know what he's paid over there, like, but there's entertainment value and there's what you call with him, like, so he, you know, I can look at that and go, geez, that boy there is pretty good. He's at the top of his game. I don't look at too many people in RT, and I've never looked at too many people in RT that are that way. So they've paid the talent, as they call it, over the top for donkey's years, and the salary that Ryan Tubridy's on today of 340, or maybe it's 400, whatever the number is, because we can't trust it. It used to be, it used to be an awful lot. It used to be an awful lot higher 20 years ago because they were paying rings round them, and it never made sense. It didn't make sense then. It doesn't make sense now. And for the entire organisation, which, look, I'm not one of those people. I don't actually begrudge the licence fee. I think it's important that we have an RTE. I think it's important that we have a national broadcaster. I think it's important that it's properly funded, so that, because we live in, you know, between Britain on the one side and America on the other side, two very culturally powerful countries that can dictate a lot of what's talked about and spoken about in the English-speaking world. I think it's important that we have a distinct Irish station that's able to give an Irish view, and I don't always agree with it, naturally, but I do think it's important. But I think that they have, for a long time, they have overpaid the top stars, and they have really, really, really destroyed a lot of trust with us. And it's the new chief executive that's coming in. I think the timing is more to get the bad news out of the way in the dying days of the outgoing chief executive. And then when the new chief executive comes in, it's something that he has to deal with as a historical matter, and, you know, his hands aren't dirty on it because it wasn't happening on his watch. So it does look, to me, you know, it looks like that.
Stage managed, to some extent.
They're trying to hold people, you know, they're always, and rightly, you know, as best as they can, they try to hold people accountable. They try to hold politicians, public figures, whatever else accountable. And, you know, this here now is terribly undermining for faith in RT, but also faith just in,
but you say that
broadcast media and journalism.
You say that. I happened to listen to the News at One yesterday, and there was strong questioning, in fairness, from the presenter of a number of guests, but there was a pre-record from Micheál Martin for 2 minutes that went completely unchallenged. I'm not really sure that's public service broadcasting, but that's a personal opinion. I listen to some RTE radio, by the way. I'm not per se anti-RTE. I just think it's the money's ridiculous. John McAteer, what do you think?
Surprised, I suppose, more than anything else, because, you know, what were they hiding and why were they doing it? Ryan Tubridy is on a huge salary, regardless. I suppose uniquely different the way that contracts are agreed between his agents and all the Stars agents and the commercial end of RT. It's the same in most broadcasters. But why would they want to hide 345,000? And that's beside the point, because, I mean, if you were getting another 345,000 into your account over 6 years, Greg, you'd probably be asking questions of somebody. When do I have to start paying this back? It's a big mistake. It would seem that this initial idea came through one of the commercial sponsors, that the X amount of that was directed to Tubridy's account, and then RTE wrote an invoice for it. It is highly unusual. There isn't an explanation for this, but it raises fundamental questions about the whole methodology that is being used.
But they underwrote, they guaranteed it. They guaranteed that, and then when that commercial partnership wasn't renewed, RTE paid. I think
that only lasts for 1 year, actually. But 345,000 out of RTE and then literally strapped for cash, it just doesn't add up. It'll also raise questions, and we'll have our ears perked to see what exactly are they paying Patrick Keelty. Is it going to be a lot more than that? Because Patrick Keelty has been a very highly paid star for a very, very long time. And I'm sure he's not coming to RTE just for the sake of being on Irish television.
I'm not so sure. I saw him on Celebrity Catchphrase on Challenge TV last week. I'm not sure if I'm not sure.
Come in the depths, Greg. Come in the depths.
I don't mean it badly, but he was on Celebrity Catchphrase.
Celebrity Catchphrase.
on Challenge TV.
Here's a stand-up comedian. He has a good grasp of current affairs. I'm not too sure how the format of the Late Late Show will fit into him. I'm not too sure that they will change it drastically. I think they will have to. They should forget about it altogether. No, the Ryan Tubridy thing beggars a lot of questions. A lot of practices going on inside RTE that are inexplicable. I'm not sure if they're right or wrong. It would seem that this there were to be 15% cuts for all top earners in RTE. That hasn't happened in this particular case. The cut was more like maybe 5 or 6%. And I suppose, as Mary T says there'll be an inquiry, there'll be investigation.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the consequences of this, because what will happen, there'll be a ton of noise over the next while. Sinn Féin are going to be, and the other opposition TDs are going to be out in the media. They already have been. The government will sort of have a tough line to walk, and we'll hear stuff from RTE and inquiries and all. But let's talk about what this actually means and what the consequences of it might be. Not Ryan Tubridy as an individual, okay? Because, he did nothing wrong as such, right? So in terms of what does this mean, RTE, Damian said, I think it was Damian or was it Mary T? Damian said they can forget about increasing the licence fee now. That's not going to wash with anyone at this point. What is the potential reputational damage to RTE here, maybe the media more generally speaking?
I would say it's quite serious, actually, because, people will be looking with disbelief that somebody can be paid $345,000 and nobody sort of realises it until some accountant picked it up on an audit. It just does not quite add up. And I'm sure that every last accountant in RTE over the last 6 or 7 years will be now trawled by Grant Thornton to see if there are any other practices of a similar nature there. It is it's very bad PR for the company. They've mismanaged it all day yesterday because nobody really had any questions to answer. The Director General was on RTE with David McCullough yesterday evening getting a bit of a roasting, but she's a mild, modest woman from Dunfanaghy, and she just really did not know anything about it because it's outside of their remit entirely. And if you're the Director General of a huge organisation like RTE, I suppose you'll have to ask the question: what is the role of that organisation when their Director General was not aware of it? Where exactly do they fit in? And who exactly calls the shots insofar as paying out money is concerned? It's a whole mess. And I would say that insofar as the public is concerned, there's more and more people just not watching RTE, and I'm one of them. I watch news and current affairs, and that's about it, because I find it bland. I find their news programmes are very flat, and they don't challenge anybody. You've kept saying that, Greg, for the last number of years. I suppose the government is paying a lot of income through advertising and all that, and do you bite the hand that feeds you, kind of thing?
I think there's part of it too is that though, because they have access to a minister a morning, that they're afraid to jeopardise that with challenging questions. You've seen how Pascal Donoghue slapped a few presenters down, and it's been taken on the chin with apologies.
But you see, that is all wrong. Can you imagine Brian Farland, people like that in his day? I mean, they wouldn't even dare do that because they would take them to pieces. But it's a nice, cosy kind of a 10 or 11 minute gap to fill. You have a minister a morning. It'd be nice if they didn't have a minister most mornings because we're not learning anything from them. Only the PR guff that they keep churning out at us that doesn't make any sense. But it's all this consensus now that there's no room at all to sort of say, no, just hold on here a minute. I don't think you're right there. That's not happening in RTE anymore. And they're all the poorer for that because news and current affairs is not meant to service the politicians. It's meant to serve us and in our knowledge and their I think it's their remit to provide that information.
Yeah, but politicians feel that if they don't like the line of questioning, they'll just not bother taking those questions any longer.
Well, then they shouldn't have them on. I mean, it's as simple as that there.
Well, I don't disagree.
It's basically promoting the image of that politician and that party, and it's all very, very slick. It's all PR exercises these days, and there's just no room to dissent.
I can't believe how quickly time's going already. Damien, I want to ask you, and then I'll go back to Mary T. What are the consequences of this? You know, obviously there's going to be a ton of coverage over the next while. It is definitely going to run into next week. But what do you think the consequences are for this in terms of maybe RT, how it's funded, how it pays its stars?
Well, I think there could very well be, in the early days yet, but there could very well be consequences for Ryan Tubridy as well with staying with the station. You know, and while it may be no fault of his, I mean, his bank account's open. If RT want to transfer, and RT can do the same for me, by the way, if they want to transfer an extra 20 or 50,000 quid and tell nobody about it, they're very welcome to do so. But I'd say he's quite damaged for his radio programme as well. So there could be some consequences for him, and that maybe he'll be able to, maybe News Talk or Today FM or one of the British stations or American stations will find that his talent is such that they have to come and swoop in and take him away from us all. But for RT, there's serious damage to them. And as I say, this they've been talking about hemorrhaging money for years. Mary T mentioned that they sold off ground down at Montrose, that they were paying an awful lot of money, which I wasn't aware of, for their security on it. They are going to have to tighten belts. And the problem is that the tightening the belts will likely be in the loss of, because they're not going to get extra money from the state now. From they're not going to get extra money from the government. They're not going to get extra money in terms of the license fee. So they are going to have to tighten things, and they're probably going to end up losing some of those more junior staff because the talent, for whatever reason, will continue to get their 300, 400, 500,000.
Yeah, and they do have unions to deal with and internal rumblings because it is a big organisation, and I think an awful lot of the anger is actually coming from within. Mary T. Sweeney, back to you finally before we take a break. What do you think the consequences of this might actually be? Not what you hope now, but what do you think it might be?
I would think the consequences of this would possibly be that we are naive in thinking that we have a political establishment who are responsible for holding them to account because we own RTE, and who in our political establishment is going to go up against them. I think we would be naive to think that we have politicians in government that are going to hold them accountable for this to the true extent of what they should be held, and to get a further investigation of their accounts, including the security plus whatever that was spent post-sale of that land at Montrose that has been reported in the papers. And they're looking to sell more land currently to fund pension schemes. I think they might need to realise, the way many's a family paying their mortgages, that they are under threat of having no pension. There should be no grand entitlement to enormous pensions. And just in relation to the housing crisis in Dublin, we have been inundated with imagery about the housing crisis in Dublin. But yet it's at pain's length that the people from Donegal have to bring up the Mica campaign and no worry about the campaign in Donegal. They're totally Dublin-central. And I would consider it more devious that it's not actually an independent body, but it's a political wing of certain politicians in Ireland. And I think it's too political.
Sorry, I beg your pardon, Mary T. I thought you were finished. It needs to be what? Sorry, finish what you were going to say.
It needs to be deconstructed in its present format.
Okay, my apologies there, Mary T.
Because it's a political entity and it shouldn't be political. And I can personally respond to looking at the figures for, say, the abortion referendum came out yesterday, 8,150 babies. When they cover the marches, and the march is on the 1st of July, please book your buses in Donegal. Please support these unborn babies and support mothers get money to keep their babies. But they never gave it true and honest reporting. It was just blatantly a lack of a real democratic accounting and publicity about the crowds of people that attend those marches. Okay. And the Mica March, it was a real effort to get them to give accurate figures. But yet, if it was a football match or something else, there's no problem. So it's a political entity, and it needs to be depoliticised immediately.
We'll be back with more from our guests after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
2 gig full fibre broadband from Virgin Media has landed in Donegal. Hear that, Aoife? Huh? Time to lose yourself in the latest Scandi crime series.
I have no idea what's going on here.
You should really put on the subtitles.
Fair point.
Whatever your genre, whatever way you play, Virgin Media is here. Switch today at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media, it's playtime.
Subject to location and availability.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
In the next 15 seconds, you're going to find out where is the best place in the Northwest to buy a bed or mattress. It's Restex Beds and Furniture Mountaintop, Letterkenny, where comfort meets style.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by Expressway. Ireland's national coach provider are inviting you to walk the Yellow Walk for 30 minutes on June the 21st. Sign up at grow.ie today. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time's 9:30. Mary T, before the break, mentioned the Defective concrete protest that took place in Dublin. Today's kind of an important day, I think, because it's 1 year on since the truncated... What's the word? The scrutiny of the defective concrete redress scheme. The long process was avoided because we were told at that time, like we were told before the first scheme, that if you don't accept this, it could be years before you get a scheme. We were told at the time that there can't be pre-legislative scrutiny in its full form because it would delay this really, really important scheme. Well, we're 365 days on from the shortened version of scrutiny of spending billions upon billions upon billions of taxpayers' money. And yet here we are, Damian, with no enhanced and inverted commas redress scheme. The public once again sold a pup, I think.
I'll be out in 2 weeks, Greg. It's been 2 weeks. We've been told it'll be...
I feel like I'm in the back of your... I feel like I'm in the back of your car on the way to Dublin Airport. Are we there yet, Dad?
It's nearly that. I think we've been told it'll be there in a fortnight since about Christmas time. The pace at which it has moved has obviously been appalling. On that pre-legislative scrutiny thing now, there's no... I wouldn't just... So there was no pre-legislative scrutiny really of the bill, and it does take a long period of time if it is to be done. Take, in the way that the Oireachtas works, it would take several months for that to be done. There would be no guarantee that if full pre-legislative scrutiny had been gone through, that the Department of Housing's officials wouldn't be doing exactly what they're doing now, which is taking their fine time. And that's what they've been doing since it's almost a year. It'll be July. Will be 12 months since the bill was enacted. And they'll be sitting in the Dáil and sitting in the Department of Housing congratulating themselves at doing something at such speed by their standards. But for the standards of people who have to live in the Mica houses, people who've already engaged with the scheme, on the 60-40 scheme, thinking that the bigger, more enhanced scheme is just around the corner, those people must be going off their heads. I mean, they will have borrowings right, left and centre, waiting and praying like everybody else that the enhanced scheme would open so that they would get a bigger grant paid down to them. And there is no urgency, and there hasn't been urgency, since this was first discovered in about 2012, 2013, when people like Aileen Doherty and Anne Owens and them got together, and when this was all ignored, and they fought like tigers to bring it onto the agenda. It's been one of the greatest achievements probably in Donegal political history, how the Mica group got together and got something done, but the pace at which the state moves on this here is absolutely appalling.
And let's not forget, it's about 6 months now, and I'm sorry if I feel like I'm bashing RTE. Maybe I am, I don't know. But it's about 6 months now. It's about 6 months now since the housing minister was sitting in front of an RTE journalist, and it was said to him, and he nodded as it was said to him, well, you've resolved the issues in Donegal now. What about on to the next subject? And nodded the head and says, yes, indeed I have. So that's the kind of accountability that these ministers, when they make themselves available for questioning on certain platforms, that's the kind of questions they get. Mary T, you mentioned the defective concrete. So as I say, a year on from that joke of pre-legislative scrutiny for a scheme that is going to burden the taxpayer to the tune of billions upon billions upon billions. Completely irresponsible not to scrutinise that fully, I would imagine. But anyway, what's your view?
I was turning on to connect into the show today, and I heard the tail end of the Highland Radio News, and I would really hope that I heard it wrong, but I believe it was the minister who used the expression in relation to the Mica scheme, and please correct me if I picked it up wrong. Did he say more palpable? Did he really use that language?
Yeah, well, I'll check.
Does he know what the word palpable means? Is it that he's trying to make something? How dare he? How dare he? And thinking about the families, and see the consecutive politicians that have sat at these meetings that I attended from the very beginning. And they sat, and it's still happening today. There are still houses being sold, and I don't blame the people trying to sell their homes because they know they have Mica. How would you react? You panic. You have to react. And they're trying to sell homes that we know have Mica to an unsuspecting buyer. It is criminal, and not by the people, by the government, to have created this entity, this nightmare for families. That mental health on not just the parents, the children, the whole community. The whole community has been damaged by successive politicians, each one of them who ever sat on those meetings and continue to sit and make what I consider to be false promises. And then you see what's happening in the banks with people that have become bankrupt for millions of pounds being written off for like 80,000 this week? Somebody wrote off their debt. 80. What is going on? We need a bit of French blood. I'm going to Paris, and I'm going to bring over and get a transfusion of French blood to give us a bit of fire back in. We've lost a lot of our leaders in Ireland.
There's a bit of a dictatorship emerging in France as well too, though. But I do take your point. And John, this enhanced scheme, it might be good news to a small group of people, but still the scheme will, whenever it is announced, will exclude farm buildings, agricultural buildings, commercial premises, second homes, holiday homes, community centres, many within a stone's throw of where you're sitting right now. But as I say, your reaction to the fact that we were told we have to avoid legislative scrutiny to get this over the line, and here we are a year on from the truncated version of that, which was a nothing really. In fact, some of the quotes from it are still quite shocking and startling when you reflect on what was said during that process. But anyway, families still feel the no further on, John.
You can't blame them. The reality here is that it's way over 2 years ago since they first went to Dublin, down to the convention centre 2 years ago, and then they went, the huge group went in October, massive demonstrations in Dublin. I don't know what more the Mica Action Group can do. They must be exhausted in disbelief and in shock that they're dealing with a cabinet where if there was prizes for political one-bagging, there would be top competition to see who would win it. If this was in Dublin, this would never be happening. It just would have been resolved. It is 2.5 billion. It's not a lot of money under any circumstances, given the kind of, budget day, the government will have at least 15 billion to give away over and above what's needed to run the country. Why Donegal has been left waiting since 2016, when this was first exposed on national television on the 30th of May of that year. And we've not learned anything much new that wasn't there on that night. It was very well presented, it was very well researched and put together. Why it's moving at a snail's pace. Often it's moving backwards, and it's never going forward. And it's got to the point where we no longer believe anything we hear from a politician.
Is this tied in now? Is this tied in maybe to sort of the national situation in terms of them trying to suppress inflation and what have you? You know what I mean? There are analysts who are afraid that too much capital investment might heat up the economy to too much of an extent, right? So if you've got your housing for all scheme and then you throw in potentially an extra 5, 6, 7,000 houses on this, are civil servants working behind the scenes and saying, hold on, we can't actually do this. We can do it, but if we do it, it could have a ripple effect across other areas of the economy. Like, I would like that being dug into a little bit more here, because, as I say, they're trying to keep the foot in people's neck in terms of taking money out of the economy with interest rate rises, and also tax increases to further push people into hardship to lower inflation, and also not pulling the trigger on capital investment that they can afford for fear of overheating the economy as well. Is it all intertwined, interlinked? I would just like some truth. Tell us what it is.
I suppose it is, but you see, the go-to position of politicians is always to blame the civil servants. It's the handy, convenient cushion. I suppose the public are subservient into believing that, because what else do you do? We do elect the politicians to make sure that that doesn't happen, to make sure that the will of the people is put forward to the permanent government, and that those top civil servants react accordingly.
The civil service have their fingers in every pie, though, John. I mean, you know that. And I'll tell you, it's only really come to my mind over the last few months that how on a macro level, how they control a narrative at certain things and my eyes have been opened, and I'm flabbergasted at the extent of the control of the government.
The reality is here that over the last 25 years, they have gradually been allowed to take that control away from the political process. I mean, why do we have a cabinet, representing the people at the highest possible level? They should be dictating to the civil service that this is the way it has to be done and this is how it must be done, and you have 6 months to come up with a brief on it. This is not happening at all. The top civil service are just dictating the pace on this here. But, you have to ask more serious questions about why a county like Donegal has been left with such a disaster of Mica house infection down the years. It's gone on maybe 20 years. And it's all down to defective blocks, and that's the long and the short of the story. It shouldn't be a big job to resolve that and to put systems and methodologies in place to ensure that people have their homes restored.
Yeah, Damian, this is nothing that has to be front-loaded. This is a multi-year, obviously multi-billion. That being said, there's job creation, there's employment, there's a clawback in VAT. There is the doing the right thing element. I mean, everything points to the fact that this is a no-brainer. So that is why I'm struggling to guess the motivation as to why you would deny these families justice, because all reasonable ways of thinking about this would suggest that you just say, oh my word, refusing downsizing, for an example. I mean, there's no logic to that unless you're trying to frustrate something or delay something or defer something or to limit access to it, Damian.
I think there's just awful inertia within the Department of Housing, and they're not able to get their head around it. They resent that their first little pet scheme that they were forced into back in 2020 didn't really get to see the light of day before it had to be overturned. So they resent that, and they have continued to do it. The extent of this, Greg, isn't fully and yet appreciated. This $2.5 billion price tag, it will be, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, it will be 10 times that by the time it's finished.
I would love a figure on the amount of people that are waiting for €600 or €700 testing, because this thing is going to explode.
And that's only talking about private houses, Greg. I mean, the quarry at the centre of this supply blocks that would build in the region, I was told by a source, of 50,000 homes. So the number that the government has worked off comes from they had a working group looking into defective blocks back about 2016, 2018, and they did a desktop analysis of how many social houses had Mica, and they tried to calculate based on that how many of those had Mica, how many plan permissions have been granted in the period. So it's a desktop calculation that estimates there's about 5,000 affected homes. And this is not to talk about all the rest, the farm buildings, the commercial buildings, the schools and so on. The full extent of this is not yet appreciated.
Yeah, I don't know a ton of people.
And it will be a multi-year, and it is a 20, 30-year job to undo the damage that has been done to the housing stock, to the what's it called, all the premises, all the building that was done in our county for the guts of 25 or 30 years has a massive question mark over it all. And most people will have to assume that, and people need to understand this, listen to the radio today, just because your house isn't exhibiting the worst signs of the Mica that you have seen, it does not mean that you are guaranteed to be away from it. Any home that was built in the last 20 to 25, maybe even 30 years, you'd really be best assuming that you have Mica unless you can prove otherwise through getting the test done. And that, I'm afraid, is the unpalatable truth about it. This really what has been discovered so far, and the homes that are in the worst state is only the tip of a an unimaginably large iceberg.
Yeah, indeed. And there's people getting tests done that don't have enough mica for the scheme, but they have enough mica whereby their house, no one is going to buy it. I know 4 or 5 people personally that strongly suspect they have mica, but they're not officially counted because they can't afford the 6,000 or 7,000 euro. And as soon as this new scheme is announced, they're going to be on the list, I suspect. Mary T.
One of the things that I have said from the start, I'm very sceptical about this RZLT tax. And I have sent multiple articles forward on this from the start. The residential zoned land tax. There's 2 strains to this. I'm concerned, are they going to try and make the farming community fund the rebuilding of the counties that have mica? Are the Donegal, the percentage, we can't even get proper percentage figures how much land. They've included houses on the RZLD maps that should never have been on it. Instead of showing clean, clear maps of what land has been allocated to have to pay this residential zoned land tax, it's absolutely criminal what they're at, in my opinion. And do they think that the farming community, or the people that have 1 or 2 acres, who are often have struggled greatly to retain those couple of acres, are they going to be funding this, or where's that money going to go? Where's the accountability in this government?
Okay.
We are really letting them walk away scot-free here.
All right, thanks, Mary T. I have to take a break. Back in about 3.5 minutes.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
2 gig full fibre broadband from Virgin Media has landed in Donegal. Hear that, Aoife?
Huh?
Time to lose yourself in the latest Scandi crime series.
I have no idea what's going on here.
You should really put on the subtitles.
Fair point.
Whatever your genre, whatever way you play, Virgin Media is here. Switch today at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media, it's playtime.
Subject to location and availability.
Most people say that Donegal is the coolest place on the planet, but up here we know that sometimes it can be the coldest. Charles Brunner & Sons Ballybuffet is the one-stop shop for all your heating needs. We have a huge range of multi-fuel and wood pellet stoves and ranges, spare parts for all major stove and range brands, plumbing and bathroom ware, all at exceptional prices. So visit our showrooms where our friendly and experienced team will be ready to help you. Charles Brunner & Sons Ballybuffet and the stovestore.ie, where you can always do a good deal better.
Tired of paying interest on your car loan? Barry Brown Cars Milford has it covered. Visit their 232 test drive event from the 19th to the 24th of June and order your brand new Suzuki with 0% interest. Yes, 0% interest on your 232 Suzuki from the 19th to the 24th of June at Barry Brown Cars Milford, your main Suzuki dealer in Donegal. Finance subject status, terms and conditions apply.
Looking for the best place in the Northwest to get a bed or mattress? Restex Beds and Mountaintop Letterkenny has a great selection and great prices. Restex Beds has everything you need for a good night's sleep. Visit them today and sleep better tonight.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Go full Lidl for a summer of savings just like our customers.
You go to Lidl and you can pick up everything there, and it is such great value. Like barbecues that we're going to have now in the summer, the burgers, the meat, it's full Irish, and it's brilliant.
Go on, go full Lidl today.
On this week's Business Matters, I'm joined by Donegal County Councillor Anthony Malloy and Brendan Bradish O'Donnell from the Brianfield Trust to discuss plans to transform the old courthouse in Glenties into the Brianfield Centre. I'll also be talking to the owners of the Shamrock Lodge in Fulcara, Sean and Amy Doohan, which won Pump of the Year at the recent Highland Radio Customer Appreciation Awards. So join me, Kieran O'Donnell, for Business Matters on Sunday evening after the 6 o'clock news. The Business Matters podcast is also available to download at highlandradio.com.
Business Matters in association with the ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. If you have an undergrad in any discipline and would like to reinforce it with a Masters in Business, ATU are offering their Masters in Business Management Conversion Programme. Call 9186206 or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie.
Conor McCready's Country Tea Party in aid of the Donegal Hospice takes place this Sunday 25th in the Orchard Inn, Letterkenny from 1 till 5 p.m. featuring Keelan Brown, Simon Peters, Paul McCall, Killian McLaughlin, Elaine Boyle, Johnny Haughey and more. This ad is sponsored by the Orchard Inn.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. We're in the company of Mary T. Sweeney, Aintu rep in Donegal, community campaigner as well, Damian Dodge, editor of the Inishowen Independent, John McAteer, editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune. We learned last evening of the very sad death of 5 explorers above the Titan submersible, which imploded earlier in the week as it descended to the wreck of the Titanic. It followed days of wall-to-wall coverage across Irish media and worldwide media. It was a story that certainly did grip the headlines. By contrast, the news that 750 refugees and migrants are feared dead after their overloaded vessel sank off the western coast of Greece received scant coverage by comparison. And to be honest, I struggled to find any coverage after at least 35 people drowned after an inflatable boat carrying up to 60 migrants and refugees sank while en route to the Canary Islands on Wednesday morning. John McAteer, why? I mean, any loss of life is tragic, and this is no disrespect to the 5 people that died above the Titan and their families. But why is there such a variance, do you think, of coverage in stories like this?
I suppose we're losing refugees by the tens of thousands over the last 20, 30 years, and it has been pushed to the very back of the news agenda. Media are not out there to cover most of those tragedies. The last big one, where 750 people at least lost their lives, was well covered up to a point, because first of all, nobody knows how many lives were lost. Secondly, nobody knows how many were on board that. And thirdly, nobody knows were there any real efforts there to try and rescue those people, and to what extent it succeeded or failed. That's one thing. It's out of sight. It's out of mind.
Is the role in the media, though, to scrutinise exactly the questions you've asked to a point whereby governments, agencies are to descend on the area like they have at the scene of the Titan disaster, or the Titan, well, this is a disaster, of course. You know, where is the role in the media of this? I mean, we can't say, well, we didn't have anyone there. Should we not be shaming the agencies into...
the role in the media would be to sort of query the those responsible. There are agencies responsible. It's a criminal act, first of all. These poor people, unfortunately, they're in that category of having nothing, and their only hope is to escape to a better life and risk their lives in doing so, and too many of them are getting drowned. And there's no easy answers to that, because as an entity, the EU and the various countries that refugees are heading for across very dangerous waters, there's no cohesive policy for dealing with them there. I mean, why should they be let drown? It's an absolute criminal act. The people who are trafficking them from wherever they're getting the money, I don't know. There's huge money being made out of this, and massive amounts of money are being paid by those unfortunate people to try and get to a better life. But they should not be turned away, and that should be highlighted in every headline in the media. Like, we have a good record in how we handle refugees, but most of the refugees are not coming here. They're coming to France, they're coming to the UK, they're coming elsewhere in Europe. And it's just an incredible tragedy that so many people, it shows the state of the whole world order at the moment, that everybody has to leave so many countries. There was never more conflict. There was never more failure in trying to sort of, in some way, try and handle the safety of the refugees first and foremost, and get them ashore.
Yeah, okay.
And then look at how they're going to care for them beyond.
Yeah, and maybe we don't have that conversation out in front. Maybe that's why the stories aren't covered like they should be. Some would feel. Mary T, just to the initial question, why are we seeing such blanket coverage of this Titan submersive tragedy, and yet the at least 750 refugees? That story fell off the news cycle as 100 children remain in the hold of that boat. Underground or undersea, sorry. And as I say, a further 16 migrants dead off the Canary Islands. Barely, as I say, I found one American report on it this morning as I tried to do a little research on it. I mean, are we as the public responsible? Because really, if the truth be told, and I said yesterday, if there's 2 stacks of 100 papers on the left, it's the submersive story. On the right, it's the refugee story. Will the papers on the left will sell out far quicker than the ones on the right, perhaps?
I think. While I must say out front that I do in the party and do support a sustainable migration policy, and as a humanitarian, we've been phenomenal in Ireland to reach out. But I think the reality to answer your question, I think it would be unfair to answer it properly within 10 minutes there. It's going to be very difficult. And I would love proper time to answer this question because there's so many different strands to this question. And we must ask, and nobody better than the editor of the newspapers, and I don't be disrespectful to the 2 editors present, but in the national sense, in the national framework of media control and TV and journalism, that tragedy sells, it appears, unless it becomes too repetitive. Hard-hitting, but true.
All right, what do you think, Damian? I'll come back to you, Mary T, but just like, as an editor, because we only have about 3 minutes left, and I'll give the last minute to Mary T. I just think it's societal. I think it's just a condition. I think, even in this country, God forbid, if someone dies in a fishing tragedy, it will receive far more coverage than someone who might die in a road traffic collision. I don't know what the story is there, but Damian, what's your insight?
Well, I suppose I'm just looking here. I've got the Twitter trending page open at the moment, Greg, and there's 395,000 tweets in Ireland trending over the Ocean Gate, which is the name of the company that sent that down. And even Ryan Tubridy, which is the big thing really for a lot of us today, only has 4,300 tweets on it. So the public at large are very interested in that story that came from the Titanic. Yeah. For cultural reasons, the Titanic has this cultural hold on people, and obviously the contrast with the people that are in that submersible in comparison to the people that are fleeing Africa and trying to come to Europe, those people have, we have seen their photographs of the people that have gone down in that submersible. We've heard little bits about them. We are able to put faces to other Europeans. They're British, they're American, and they're French, whereas the hundreds, the countless thousands that are fleeing Africa by boat, we can't put a face to. We can't fully relate to. So I think that's probably why the story gets so much attention. And it's one of these. It was a search and rescue for such a long time, and people think about. And it would be
a film would be made of that, if the truth be told, especially if they were found.
Exactly.
So.
It's a common thing. This search to try and see if some people against the odds can survive there. It's a kind of a cultural thing that we have in the West here. And unfortunately for those, and it's all it's all of humanity. I suppose our own humanity is a wee bit desensitized to so many thousands of drowning deaths in the Mediterranean as people are fleeing lives.
And I suppose we saw ourselves, our reaction as a nation to that image of the young boy in this red T-shirt perishing, the Syrian boy on the beach.
That's right.
4,000 people offered spare rooms to Syrians, and within 6 months they had all been pretty much withdrawn. Mary T, do you want the last 30 seconds, or shall we say goodbye?
No, I would take the last 30 seconds, and I would also want to say that the reality is that there's 250,000 children missing across Europe. That's the figures say 1 child every 2 minutes has been trafficked, and we're not hearing enough about that case. But what we have to do is we do have to have a very strong, firm hand with the people, the criminals who are running this and making it appear lucrative for people to put 5,000 into their hands to get on a boat. And this is where we're failing miserably. We need to look at the logistics and the legalities. And in Europe, they had the first conference in this last year where the judiciaries are coming together. And until we come down hard, we need to do that hand in hand with increasing and improving the quality of conditions in their home countries to make it less lucrative to appear to gather up between 2,000 and 7,000, in some cases 30,000, to get on a boat or a plane to become a migrant, because some of the real migrants are left behind.
Mary T. Sweeney, A2 Rep, thanks so much for your time. Have a lovely weekend. Take care of yourself.
Well,
thank you. Good to have you with us. Damian Dodge, as always, great to have you on the show. Have a lovely weekend yourself. Last but not least, of course, John McAteer, thank you, and we'll see you again really soon, I hope.
Thanks, Greg.
Bye-bye, John. Take care.
Good morning.
Okay. Good morning to you. Back with more on the 9 till noon show after we take a break now for the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Summer is here, and that's why SuperValue is making sure it's the summer of savings. Enjoy great offers like SuperValue Fresh Irish Strip Loin Steak, save 33%. Wolf Blass Eagle Hawk Chardonnay, only €9. And money off vouchers every week on the app. For a summer of savings, it's got to be SuperValue. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Sit back, relax, and sink into the comfort of a new sofa, available now at the Easy Living Furniture Sizzling Summer Sofa Sale, with up to 2 years interest-free finance on a wide range of sofas that are in stock and ready for delivery. Luxurious designs, unbeatable prices, and endless comfort await you. The Sizzling Summer Sofa Sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
At Allstate, we provide flexible working options that make work for you. You can choose condensed working or a flexible start or finish time. Choose to work from home or the office whenever you want. Don't miss out on the moments that matter to you. Make work for you. Search Allstate NI Careers today.
Well, Grace, how are you today?
I'm good. I've just been down to the made-to-measure Fireplaces showroom in Creasla. They have an incredible selection of over 40 colours for kitchen worktops. And guess what? For a limited time, they're offering a 40% discount on any electric fire when you purchase a worktop there.
40%? That's an amazing deal, Grace.
Absolutely. And trust me, if the discount alone doesn't sway you, their huge selection of Fireplaces stoves, wood pellet burners, beams and stone cladding certainly will.
Contact Made to Measure Fireplaces Creasla on 074 91 38 365 on Facebook, Instagram and on mtmfireplaces.ie.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. The Public Expenditure Minister says it's important effective concrete block homeowners are treated as potentially vulnerable mortgage customers and dealt with accordingly. Minister Michael McGrath met this week with the Banking and Insurance Redress Focus Group. He was responding in the Dáil to Donegal Deputy Pearse Doherty, who called for bespoke arrangements recognising the unique circumstances of affected homeowners to be put in place by banks. Despite the implementation deadline for the Defective Concrete Block Grant Scheme regulations being missed again, Minister McGrath says they are close to finalisation. He's pledged to continue to work on finding a resolution for affected mortgage holders.
Just the anxiety, the stress, the anguish that they are having to live with every day. So if I can help in any way, as I've said before, to make the process more palatable and more accessible for them, I'll certainly do that. So I'll take an ongoing interest in this, and I'll work with you and your colleagues and the Homeowners Action Group to try and deal with these mortgage issues as best I can.
An emergency meeting of members of the National Union of Journalists working for RTE will be held today. It comes after the broadcaster admitted to undeclared payments to Ryan Tubridy between 2017 and 2022. The payments totalled €345,000 and have been described as a serious breach of trust. RTE has confirmed the former Late Late Show will not host his radio show today. Donegal A2 representative Mary T. Sweeney, speaking on the 9 till noon show this morning, believes there needs to be an overhaul of the broadcaster.
It needs to be deconstructed in its present format. The Mica March, it was a real effort to get them to give accurate figures. But yet, if it was a football match or something else, there's no problem. So it's a political entity and it needs to be depoliticised immediately.
A Scottish company has announced it's to open a new base in Donegal. Be Positive will officially open in G-Tech Door on Tuesday. The IT services company offers business analysis solutions focusing on enabling companies enhance their digital capabilities. Colin Quinn, company director, says being based in Donegal gives them access to a highly educated and talented workforce. A warning has been issued over yet another scam impersonating Gardaí. This time scammers are targeting people via email. Donna Marie Doherty has more.
Gardaí in Donegal say they're aware of a current email-based scam where an individual receives correspondence claiming to be from An Garda Síochána. The scammers claim the recipient is being investigated in relation to suspected child pornography, paedophilia, cyber pornography, exhibitionism or similar judicial claims. Gardaí say they do not and will never contact somebody under investigation in this manner. People are reminded to not respond to any unsolicited emails seeking personal, financial or security advice. Never click a link or attachment in an unsolicited email. If you believe the email and any request for information is from a genuine source, you're advised to verify it independently of the email sender. Gardaí are appealing to anyone who may have inadvertently or otherwise engaged with this scam or a similar scam and subsequently have been the victim of fraud to report it to them.
The first turbine has been installed at Lenalea Wind Farm in Donegal. It's expected the 7-turbine development will be operational by the last quarter of this year, and when complete, the wind farm will generate enough renewable energy to power 20,000 homes annually. The remaining 6 turbines have been pre-assembled and are scheduled to be fully installed by the end of June. Today marks Your Council Day. Donegal County Council is highlighting today the work of council employees and the role they play in the county's social and economic life. Local authorities across the country will be providing a behind-the-scenes look at a typical day in the council to show the variety of services provided by employees. You can get involved by using hashtag Your Council Day. Weather now cloudy today with outbreaks of rain and drizzle, turning heavy at times, warm and humid with highest temperatures of 20 to 22 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for this Friday morning, June the 23rd. The death has taken place of William McGranra, Willie in Leamington Spa, England. Remains will be reposing at his sister Helen Doherty's residence, 9 The Woods, Buncrana, today at a time to be confirmed. Funeral mass took place last Monday in Leamington Spa. Burial will be in Cockhill Graveyard at 2:15 tomorrow afternoon. The death has taken place of Margaret Ann McDermott, née Gibson, Ballyholy, Raphoe. Her remains are reposing at her home. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Eunan's Church, Raphoe, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. House private, family and close friends welcome. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of desire to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, funeral director. Rosary tonight at 9 o'clock. House private before the funeral tomorrow please. The death has taken place of Sheila Porter, née Grant, 24 Stevens Court, Ballymagorty, Derry. Her remains are reposing in her home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11:30 for 12 o'clock Requiem Mass in Holy Family Church, Ballymagorty, followed by interment in St Angus's Cemetery, Burt, County Donegal. And the death has taken place of Phyllis Duffy, Rockhill, Letterkenny, reposing at her late residence today from 11 o'clock until 10 o'clock. Funeral mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Eunan's Cathedral, with burial afterwards in the family plot in Comwall Cemetery. Funeral mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday the 23rd of June. You're playing on the yellow sheet. The reference number is S5. It's game number 25. The numbers are 35, 88, 10, 65, 39, 58, 57, 82, 56, and finally 25. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Cardja maha, Tá Magoni an Shindo, Ul Gugus Mah. Is Malish nor a Vim Hart. Ein oor Vien Shake Dolamach, Fireman Glech. Agus Loigan, is Stocha Gamaroig me.
Ní cara maithe an tabhac. Is féidir an smacht atá aige ort a bhrisise leis de 28 lá. Fáil amach conas éirí an gahaf tabhac ag quit.ie. Ó aimeanach na séirmhíse sláinte.
After the midweek season break, Finn Harps return to First Division action this Friday evening when they take on Wexford at Finn Park. There'll be live updates on Highland from 8 p.m. kickoff. Finn Harps on Highland in association with BNS Credit Union Ballabafay, where they have that perfect holiday loan for you. Don't delay, get your holiday loan today. Visit bnscu.ie or call free phone 1800 290 390. BNS Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Summer reductions on your favourite brands at Brian McCormick Sports, Brooks and Asics with 20% off. Check in-store and online. Brooks Glycerine and Adrenaline 22 GTS save 20%. Asics Keanu 29, Asics GT 2011 save 20%. Get ready for the summer and save 20% off your favourite kids' Asics trainers. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Radio, we're all bang up to date then. Let's get to some of your comments that have been coming through over the last hour, and I'll just read them as they come in. Greg, there's been too many memes made about this tragedy on TikTok. Mixed feelings about it. While money got them in the end, they are still people. Of course. I mean, they're adventurers. I don't think because someone chooses to climb Mount Everest necessarily, and if they were to perish, it doesn't make their life any less worth than someone else's. So I agree with you. I think this RTE debacle might be meant to take our attention away from the neutrality issue. The government, Michael Martin in particular, is trying his best to have our young ones shipped away to die in foreign soil. Sheer folly. It would fit our government better to do something about promoting peace and stop the loss of innocent lives. Look, if anything ever happens, there's always another thing happening at the same time that you could say it was a distraction. I mean, I see all over Twitter people are suggesting that they knew all along that those people had died on that vessel tragically, but they delayed the news so it coincided with one of the Bidens giving evidence on something or other. I mean, listen, there's always one thing that will happen at the same time as another, and if you want to make a connection, has it ever happened in the past? Listen, I know news is managed, that certain news is released late on a Friday or over a bank holiday weekend. I know that happens, but something on this scale, personally, and call me my naive, I'm not saying you're wrong, I would doubt it. I actually believe that those conferences that are taking place are actually giving the people a voice, because people are speaking out on the neutrality issue that may have had feelings, strong feelings, that we need to maybe even strengthen that, but never express them. So in a way, I think actually if these were being held to move us in a certain direction, I think it's backfired, because I think it's very clear the view of the public now. There's an interesting conversation is happening this morning at that event in Galway today about the triple lock, which is important, I think. We'll have more on that in the news coverage later on in the program, on the day, of course. Many years ago, we were told that if the big RTE presenters were not paid big money, they'd leave Ireland and go to rival broadcasters in the UK and the USA. Then came along local radio, and we find out that we had presenters who could match the RTE presenters in current affairs and general programming at a fraction of the cost. It's time local radio got a share of the licence fee. I would say owners of local radio stations would want that, and maybe it would happen. As long as I would be for that, of course, if it made it more profitable and people could stay in business and what have you, providing there was never any question over independence, that would be but I mean, I've never in any way been told what to say or not to say. I'm not sure that happens on RTE. I don't know, but I wouldn't sit here and do this job if there was any control over what I was able to say, if you know what I mean. RTE should be disbanded, to be honest, says this listener. It's nothing now but a propaganda machine for whatever government is in power. Hi, I cancelled my direct debit for the TV licence after yesterday's scandal. That's coming from Christian in a show. And Chris, and do you know what the funny thing is, and what's funny about this controversy is that, and I hope it doesn't happen to you, Chris, but you could be pursued for that to the point whereby you could end up in court. You could be named and shamed on the websites and in the local newspapers. You could even perhaps end up in prison, Chris. But there is no question of anything of that nature happening for a €345,000, but you're €160 now. You could get a very severe slap on the wrist, but you can pass €345,000 under a table and everyone's innocent. A caller says Irish people are struggling to pay their bills, yet people coming in getting everything free and still complain. Close down RTE, they're money grabbers, says a caller. Another morning, Greg, if Joe Soap doesn't pay his TV licence, he can be jailed. Now we hear RTE overpaid Ryan Tubridy over €345,000. So many serious questions to be asked. Such a betrayal to the country. And who else was overpaid, they ask. Hi, Greg. It's not a coincidence that RTE broke the news about Tubridy on the same day Micheál Martin was launching his conference to try and get the first steps for Ireland to get into NATO. In fairness to RTE, they covered that extensively, and indeed the protests extensively at that conference as well. So I don't know. I think it was well covered before that story broke. If they were going to do that, break it in the morning. But I respect your view, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying my view would be a little bit different. Hi, Greg. A few weeks ago, some in ITV turned a blind eye to certain carry-on to hold on to their golden boy, Philip Schofield, and now RTE have done similar to hold on to their golden boy. If he didn't notice over €345,000 extra in his account, what was the point in paying it? Which is an interesting question. Hi, Greg. How many fines has our council giving out for littering in the last few years? Maybe you could ask your panel today, do they help out in the community cleanups? Have a good weekend throughout the year. Okay, listen, thank you. Oh, sorry, have a good weekend. There's two messages have kind of been merged there. It's not many fines. I did see the stats. Well said, Damian Dodge. The enormity of this is being completely ignored, but the floodgates are about to open. That comes in from Roisin in the Redress Focus group. Indeed, that's as it relates to the conversation about defective concrete. Strange governments can house people from other countries, but can't seem to house their own. Another. If all defective concrete homeowners went together and stopped paying their mortgages, it might wake up the government on this issue. I know that's been suggested before, but that destroys people's credit ratings, their ability to borrow if they need to bridge the difference between whatever grant they might get, or it's not a grant as such actually, but whatever they might get and the totality of the rebuild cost. And really, the mortgage companies then would just chase them and they would lose their properties for whatever they're worth, their sites. I don't know. I just don't really think that's a very good plan of action. Can I have the details of the next guest, Donna Marie, please? Rest in peace to these people who lost their lives. I always ask myself when I hear a story non-stop on the radio, what's going on now elsewhere that is slipping under the radar? And all the while, there is things that are going to be slipping under the radar, it has to be said. And a caller says, my daughter spent 24 hours with her child who has autism in the emergency department. In the end, she had to walk out because it was too overwhelming. Has anyone else experienced this? It's unbelievable in this day and age. 24 hours in the ED at Letterkenny University Hospital with a child with autism. Very difficult indeed. Right, Bernardo's is calling on the government to develop a national policy on state care for vulnerable children. A new report from UCD found young people in state care are being targeted for sexual exploitation. Bernardo's says it's very alarmed at the study and wants immediate action to protect those at risk. Stephen Moffat is National Policy Manager with Bernardo's, and we welcome him back onto the programme. Thanks for joining us, Stephen.
Thanks for having me on.
Can you talk to me how, or give an example as to how a young person in state care would then be targeted, on how that might happen, and where are the vulnerabilities there that allow that to happen, Stephen?
So it's a very complex area in which, children who will be in residential care units, who would have had histories probably of trauma, might have actually experienced abuse, to be taken into care themselves. They'd be supported by social workers in the residential care placements and other professionals. But they will be teenagers. They will go ahead of those residential care centres. They will go to school. They will have friends. So you can't be around them the entire time. And unfortunately, there's people out there who are aware that these children and young people are particularly vulnerable given their past histories, given the fact that they don't have parents with them. And so they're preyed upon. So this might be a case where you would have men looking at residential care units, waiting for young girls coming out of them over time, trying to develop some form of relationship that might be doing one seemingly nice thing for them, and building on that over time. Some of it is also through online, trying to develop relationships with these young people at a young age online, and targeting, again, just through trying to get their names. So it is a very complex issue, and it is based around sort of exploiting vulnerabilities as much as possible.
I mean, it's horrendous because, as you quite rightly pointed out, most of these children have already been through very traumatic experiences, and that's ongoing. But the idea that we have individuals or groups of individuals that will deliberately target them and exploit that trauma and their vulnerabilities, on what scale do we know is this happening? Have we identified a couple of cases, or is this happening far more? Once is too many, but do we have any sense of the extent of this?
I think what the report sort of found yesterday was really a scoping exercise to try and uncover how it's happening, what professionals know and don't know. And one of the things it did sort of uncover is that there's a real sort of dearth of information about how frequently this is happening. We know it is happening across the country. We know that, it's not a very rare occurrence. It is something happening frequently. The extent to which it happens in individuals will vary, but it's definitely what the report is saying. We need to know more. We need to be looking at our residential care units and doing investigations at an individual level to make sure that that they're able to identify children when it is happening, but also then at a national level, sort of trying to see what scale is this at, so there can be a national response to the problem.
And I presume these individuals are, as you say, trying to form relationships. They probably have a textbook routine as to how to do that, but also presumably to blackmail or induce through substance abuse or imagery or whatever it might be. I presume that these people, and I'm reluctant to call them such, will use every tool in their arsenal for control.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really concerning about that because, the fact that these young people are particularly vulnerable and they're exploiting that. So, as I said, we would certainly have some staff have worked with children where, it's utilising drugs. It's providing children with drugs, it's providing them with other rewards. Sometimes it's giving them money. And unfortunately, sometimes what they will do is utilise and leverage those things to get actually the young people to try and bring more young people with them. So when they do go out and they meet older men, that they're induced to bring friends along with them from residential care. So it's really concerning. And what the report actually found as well yesterday was that, some of this leads to a grey area of actually forms of prostitution, which is really, really concerning, in which, they are providing money to these girls and young women and looking for sexual favours. And where's the boundary between that? And it was really, really alarming because we know the damaging impact this is going to have on those young people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, there's things we need to do over different time frames, but this is an immediate response that's required to go into these to these facilities to speak to young people, to assess them, have them speak to professionals. Like, we need to ensure that, and we know who the young people are, to ensure that none of them are currently at risk or being exploited. That's something that needs to happen right now. I'm not sure of the amount in totality of the young people we're talking about, but it can't be beyond our resources to make sure that every one of those is as safe as possible as we speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the first thing that needs to happen is we need to make sure that all the professionals who are working with children who are at risk of this issue have as much understanding about the issue so that they can identify it as quickly as possible and then respond in a really consistent, measured way. This is the process. This is where it's identified. This is what we do. This is how we protect the children as much as possible. Unfortunately, at the moment, too many professionals working there and in contact with the young people at risk, they're just uncertain. They're unsure. What do they do in this scenario? Look, we need to invest resources into providing those staff with as much training as possible. It is a really complex area. It's always evolving, given the online nature of things as well. But if investment in training and resources and staff is really, really important.
Yeah, now, I don't know the legal ins and outs, and I'm not sure you do, Stephen, but we did see recently new legislation introduced that introduced much tougher sanctions for people who groom children into crime, for an example. Does one of the responses to this to ensure that if it's not already there, that there's a very strong deterrent to, exploiting vulnerable children like this, even if it has to be specific to this area?
Yeah, it's always important to have as strong a deterrent as we can. Unfortunately, the deterrent with a lot of the individuals who are preying on young people, a deterrent is never going to be enough. They're still going to do it. So we need a form of deterrence, but we just need to be identifying the issue as quickly as possible, really, and identifying, where there are suspicious behaviours being done by men in particular around residential units, that the police are there as soon as possible, that they're engaging with those men, and being able to create a system in which they can't exploit the young people or minimising the potential for that.
Do we have any idea as to how long this has been ongoing? I mean, we're here now, we're talking about it, but is this has this been an ongoing issue that really we're sort of starting to get an understanding of with this scoping exercise?
I think what we know is that it's certainly evolved over time. So, the online element is probably relatively new. But in terms of, people exploiting and sexually exploiting young people in residential care, I don't think it's a new phenomenon. I think it's probably been something happening for a long period of time. We are getting a better understanding of it. There is a lot more research that needs to be done. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's a new phenomenon.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. Have a good day. Stephen Moffat there, National Policy Manager with Barnardo's, and that's an ongoing problem. It's been happening historically right now, and we all really need to get up in arms about things like that and what's happening to our young people. Just the idea that there are people in this world that would actually exploit children's trauma and vulnerability in that way, it's mind-boggling, isn't it? Do they walk amongst us? Do we know these people that are capable of such a thing? Any views on that or anything else we're talking about this morning? 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or call us on 07491 25,000. Plenty to come on the show today, by the way. Still plenty between now and 11. Then after 11, we ease into the weekend. We switch off a little bit from the heavy stuff, and we just yammer. Half of you tune out, another half that don't listen at all tune in. It's a funny old phenomenon. That's entertainment. But we have Fanula's going to be with us, Michael. I think Dahi might be up with us as well. So that's all in the last hour. So if you've been doing anything fun, entertaining yourself through the TV, cinema, stage, books, podcasts, anything that you want to talk about that's frivolous, just get in touch with us. Maybe you've taken up circuits. It doesn't matter, really. It's just we'll talk about anything. 086 60 25,000 to get involved in that conversation. I meant to mention this earlier because it's of huge significance, and fair play to 3 Donegal ladies who were involved in that game for Ireland last night against Zambia. as they prepare for the World Cup taking place on the other side of the world in the not too distant future. I didn't get to see it all. I got to see much of the first half, and the first half of the first half, Zambia incredibly strong. Ireland seemed to get back into it somewhat as half-time, and at that point I was unable to watch it any longer, but I missed Amber Barrett coming on and fighting for her place in Australia and fighting to deliver Ireland that victory. I'll read the back of the Sun today. They won 3-2. Did I mention that? Amber Barrett joked that she wants an aisle seat on the flight to Australia, having notched her first goal since sending Ireland to the World Cup. Barrett scored twice in last night's win over Zambia as she put a different club campaign behind her to set her sights on Down Under. The Donegal ace scored against Scotland last October to book Ireland's World Cup spot, but her troubles at Turbine Potsdam meant she had not found the net since. She said, "That's the first time I've scored for club or country since Scotland. For any striker, that's a long time to go without a goal." And fair play to the manager who put her on in that, you know, she's got nothing to prove. Amber Barrett's a hugely talented footballer, but when you sort of run dry, there's a bit of a goal drought with your club, the national manager might begin to say, but she didn't. She knows Amber. She stuck her on. She banged into, and hopefully she has booked that aisle seat to Australia. She said, "But the relief when the penalty happened is something I can't describe. It's funny. You put so much pressure on yourself to score." And then I'll read on. When it goes in, the pressure comes off. Her penalty 4 minutes after half-time was her first touch of the game and put in mind her previous spot kick miss. But anyway, she sorted it out. Right, okay, we're going to be going to Dunfanaghy Golf Club next because they have a special event that's running. It's 24 golfers playing for 24 hours. Sean Quinn, our sales manager here at Highland Radio, is going to be joining us live from the scene after we take a break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Milford Tiles, Wood Flooring and Bathware, Milford Retail Park. New wood flooring just arrived. 8mm AC laminate, $9.99 a square yard. 10mm, $12.50 a square yard. 12mm, $14.99 a square yard. Beautiful 8mm AC4 gloss laminate, $16.99 a square yard. All in stock, fitters available. Milford Tiles, Wood Flooring and Bathware, 083 091 0707.
After the midweek season break, Finn Harps return to First Division action this Friday evening when they take on Wexford at Finn Park. There'll be live updates on Highland from 8 p.m. kickoff. Finn Harps on Highland Radio in association with BNS Credit Union Ballabafay, where they have fantastic student loan rates now on offer. Don't miss out on the great reduced rate. Visit bnscu.ie or call freephone 1800 290 390. BNS Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Hi guys, David James here, and we're asking you to push back the kitchen table, dust off your dancing shoes, and join us for our Jive for June campaign, all in aid of the Donegal Hospice. Tune in to the Jive Time show from 2:30 p.m. for your daily Jive. Video your Jive and send it to the Donegal Hospice at gmail.com, and they will post it on their socials, and we will also be posting your Jives on our social media channels too. To register and donate, log on to donegalhospice.ie or contact Isabel on 912565 or 087 238 9607 for a sponsorship form.
Hi, it's Claire here from Claire Clothing. Our summer sale has started. I have loads of discounts of dresses, tops, trousers, all of the summer stock. So we'll see you at our summer sale in Claire Clothing, Main Street, Letterkenny.
With more all-electric cars on Irish roads than ever before, now is the time to make your move. Now is the time to follow the leader and choose a Volkswagen ID, Ireland's best-selling range of all-electric cars. And now is the time to choose a Volkswagen ID3, ID4 or ID5, all available to order now for immediate delivery. Discover our latest offers at Volkswagen.ie. Volkswagen. Best-selling claim based on latest published figures.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
All right, Sean Quinn, our sales manager, is on the show with us now. Hi, Sean.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Good to have you with us. You're also the vice captain of Dunfanaghy Golf Club, and there's a big event taking place. Lots of excitement and buzz, I'd imagine. What's going on?
Oh, it's been amazing down here this morning, Greg. I'm actually indoors here because it's a little bit windy, but what's happening is today is the 24 for 24 golf challenge in aid of charity. And there's 32 players that have gone out today. And the hope is that 24 of them somehow will manage to play golf for 24 hours. Sounds easy, but trust me, there's a reason I'm standing here talking to you, because it won't be that easy.
So it's not like a relay. Some of these players, hopefully 24 of them, will play golf around the course continuously for 24 hours.
They will, yeah. So the first group went out at 10 o'clock, and they'll lead the way right into the dark hours this evening. So probably from about 10:30 till about 4 o'clock in the morning, they're actually going to play in the pitch dark.
Do their balls glow in the dark, Sean?
Say that again, Greg. Sorry.
Do their balls glow in the dark?
Yeah. Well, so what we had to do is we had to buy special golf balls that you can actually see them in the dark. They're pretty impressive now when you see them. Now the problem we have is we only bought so many, so hopefully they don't lose them.
It might be easier to find.
It's hard enough to keep a ball during the day, never mind in night time. But it's going to be, I suppose, this is a hard challenge. Just think about this this way: if you play golf, a round of golf, an average round of golf is about, you're walking 10k. So these golfers overnight, from 10 o'clock to 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, are going to walk about 50k. That's pretty impressive. And swing a golf club loads of times.
Yeah, indeed. So they'll probably get, 5 or 6 rounds in?
It's going to be about 5 rounds. They've timed it where it's going to be 4 hours per round. And obviously they've got to get a quick bite to eat afterwards. They've got to rehydrate, so they've got to take plenty of water with them, bananas and different things. But it's kind of off, get your half an hour break and then straight back out again. So yeah, 4 hours is the average of what the round's going to take. Might be a little bit longer in the dark hours, but what they're doing is they're restricting where they have to hit just irons in the darkness for obvious reasons.
Yeah, all right. You're there as vice captain. You're there in a supporting role, are you? In a publicity role. You're not actually taking part in this yourself?
Definitely not. No, I made the call early in the requests for players, because it's really, in fairness, I play 2 rounds of golf and I'm ready for going to bed for the rest of the day. So you've got to be actively able to do it. And I'm one of those. I'm a bit like yourself, Greg. If I want to do it, I'm going to do it. I want to succeed. So I was hands up straight away. I'm out. I'll help you with the marketing. And but I have to say, hats off to every single person that's gone on that tee box this morning. It's for a brilliant cause. There's 3 actual charities that the club is raising money for. So we've the Chrysler Disaster Fund, Autism Ireland, and Alzheimer's. And we've already raised so far an amazing €25,000.
That would have been a good total, but that's just before really not before, that is as the players are teeing off. That's a remarkable level of support, Sean.
It is. It's amazing. and this is just the start of it. So, if you do have a couple of pounds that you would like to donate towards charities, then what I would ask you to do is to go on to dunfanaghy.com website. And on the front page is the click for the GoFundMe page. Also, it's easy to find on Dunfanaghy social media, which is a Facebook page, and it's called Dunfanaghy Golf Club Official. And at the top, you'll see a click where you can go in and donate towards the GoFundMe page. 3 brilliant charities, and it'd be great if we could give them, 15,000 each at the end of this, so we can raise up to 45,000. We have a classic happening tomorrow as well for players that didn't play today. So everybody's got an opportunity where they can raise or give a few pounds towards 3 fantastic charities.
Yeah, indeed. And as those players, and look at, sometimes the body can just give up, but at their lowest ebbs, maybe at about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And in fairness now, it was well timed because we're very close to the longest day of the year. But they'll think on those 3 brilliant charities, and hopefully that gives them that extra rush of adrenaline to get them through the dark hours. Have we a show coming from there later? Or
yeah, we do. So David's coming down from 2:30 to 5 o'clock today. So we've got a couple of giveaways. We'll have great music. We'll have a few interviews. We'll actually try and get a chat with some of the golfers. We might do a little competition as well on the putting green. I remember the last time actually I had you here down in Dunfanaghy, Greg.
Yeah. Tore up the course, I did.
You held a record for a while on the 9th hole where you got onto the green and won, and then you decided you would 5-putt it.
Yes.
And we so needed your 3 points there. The good news is, though, I actually beat you. I beat you on that one. And now, this is not, if nobody understands golf, this is not bragging here. This is, unfortunately, I was on the green earlier in the year in 2, and I walked off with a 9 on that hole.
My word. Nightmare.
There's hope for you, yes.
Yeah, indeed. But unfortunately, I had to retire from the game because I had a baby. But I'm hoping to dust off the rust at some point and get back out again.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
What a hero I am. So David James is broadcasting live from Dunfanaghy Golf Club later. Don't let that put you off. Continue to go along and support. There's a good atmosphere there, I'd imagine, and it will build throughout the course of the day because, you know, a lot of people are involved in something really good, Sean, and that creates an atmosphere, doesn't it? Whereby, you know yourself.
It does, Greg. It does, and this doesn't happen by chance. It's the work that's done behind the scenes. There's people here supporting. People are not playing. They're here to cheer them on. There was over 100 people around by the first tee box when the first golfers went out. So it's building. And I suppose what they need also is they need people to come along and encourage them to keep them going, because that's the hard bit of this. Getting here, taking the clubs out the car, getting the shoes on, that's easy. When it comes to round 3, at about, you're probably looking at about 8 o'clock this evening, 8:30. That's when we need to help and support these players to make sure we get them back out onto the course, because it would be an incredible, absolutely incredible feat to have 24 golfers to play for 24 hours. It's never actually been done before. So this would be a milestone for the club. The weather's not great now. I have to say, we can't say that it's going to be perfect conditions. We're going to get wet down here. It's going to be windy. It already is windy. Through the night is to dry up, but tomorrow morning the old wind from the north is coming down, and that brings rain with it, unfortunately.
It'll be interesting.
The challenges are there.
It'll be interesting to see the scores. Like, I presume, I presume they'll keep scores. It'll be interesting to see how they score over the 5 rounds, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few little side hustles going on there, because there's always going to be a little element of competition. It'll be interesting to see how the rounds progress over the course of the 24 hours for those that manage to persist out there.
Well, if it's anything like my golf, it'll get worse. To be honest, in the dark hours, it'll be very difficult because it's dark. They'll probably hit 7 irons. But what I will say, it's very competitive in the first round because everybody's playing for a classic, which is part of tomorrow's event. So that will make the first round very competitive. Second round, third round, I think it'll still be competitive, but you're 100% correct. I already know that there's a few wagers being had out there of who will have the best score over the 24 hours. So they're thinking right, which is good. But as I said, if we get 24 finishers, it'll be phenomenal.
All right. So already, thanks to the great generosity of the club members and supporters, €25,000, isn't that the figure you gave? Almost 25,000 euro has been raised for Creasla Disaster Fund, the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland and the Irish Society for Autism. As Sean said, and it's ambitious, but it's achievable. They would love to get to 45, 15 for each cause. And you can go to dunfanaghy.ie and you'll find the GoFundMe link there, a 5 or a 10 or whatever you want to do, more if you have it, and it all goes to those 3 worthy causes, Sean.
That, exactly, Greg. And as you rightly said, we've had a great start. If we can just build on that over the next 24 hours, what these guys, ladies and gents, are doing is amazing. But what will be even better is the more money we can give to these charities, the better.
Okay. Best wishes to you all. Might call in on the way past, actually, just to see. What time's the putting competition at? That's going to be after 2:30, isn't it?
Come down and do that. That'll actually be good for it. It's not going to be as easy as you think now, because I'm probably going to blindfold the golfers. Well,
that's kind
just to make it a little bit harder. But that might help being
a little bit harder. I don't think they need a blindfold. All right, listen, Sean, see you later. Thanks very much for that. Sean Quinn, head of sales here, sales manager at, and also vice captain of Dunfanaghy Golf Club. Fair play to the guys and girls. They're 24 hours playing golf. It's no mean feat, as Sean mentioned there, and we're delighted to support that initiative. Okay, let us take a break. We'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show in just a couple of moments.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The Jive Time show will be coming live this Friday from Dunfanaghy Golf Club for their 24 for 24 charity golf event. We have the usual great music and chat and a few giveaways on the day. So join us this Friday at Dunfanaghy Golf Club from 2:30 to 5 p.m. Thank you to Arnold's Hotel, the Wide Atlantic Camp and Boise Centre Dunfanaghy for supporting our outside broadcast.
At Manor Motors Opel, we're half-full type of people, which is how we come up with the Opel 50/50 finance offer. Choose from the Opel Crossland, Corsa or Mica. Select your flexible payment option. Pair it with 3 years free servicing and meet your new other half. Discover more about Opel's 50/50 offer at the Opel Open Road event. See manormotors.ie for details. Finance is provided by way of a consumer hire purchase agreement by Bank of Ireland Finance. Lending criteria and conditions apply over 18s only. Ownership remains with Bank of Ireland until the final payment is made. Bank of Ireland trading as of Bank of Ireland Finance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Sit back, relax and sink into the comfort of a new sofa, available now at the Easy Living Furniture Sizzling Summer Sofa Sale, with up to 2 years interest-free finance on a wide range of sofas that are in stock and ready for delivery. Luxurious designs, unbeatable prices and endless comfort await you. The Sizzling Summer Sofa Sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Hi, it's Claire here from Claire Clothing. Our summer sale has started. I have loads of discounts of dresses, tops, trousers, all of the summer stock. So we'll see you at our summer sale in Claire Clothing, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Now, Justice Minister Helen McAteer said that people should be screaming from the rooftops about the number of women being killed in Ireland. The Fine Gael minister was speaking to the Irish Mirror, which itself has launched a Stop the Violence campaign. Ms McAteer, in a long interview, spoke about the legislative and cultural changes that are required to tackle what Taoiseach Leo Varadkar described this week as an epidemic of violence against women. Dr Marie Hainsworth is manager of Donegal Domestic Violence Services. And I suppose to some extent, and I applaud the paper for what they're doing, they're taking a snapshot of the situation, but we all know all too well the terrible instances of murder of women, extreme violence against women, the level of domestic abuse against women, and the public attitude to it. Most people are outraged, but as we begin to speak, Maria, I know people will take out the phones and text something that in some way mitigates against it. You know, that's what usually happens. But I mean, it's good we talk about it regularly, Marie, but is that enough? What is happening and where do we need to go, do you think?
Well, I think, people are beginning to get more awareness. I think it's good that the media covers it because, for a long time, in terms of statistics, the number of women killed in domestic abuse situations equaled the number of people killed in gangland-related violence. Yeah, it's always gangland-related violence that gets the headlines. People link them all together. It doesn't matter if there's a killing in Limerick or Dublin. People know that it's a combined issue. They're keeping stats on it, and there's a huge amount of resources going into it, particularly from the policing and justice end. The figures for domestic abuse are exactly the same, but there's not anywhere near the level of resources going into it. Or is there the connection being made? It's seen as an isolated incident in Mayo or an isolated incident in Donegal. Nobody's drawing it all together. So although, they're saying that, that this is an epidemic, at the same time, the figures are pretty consistent. Like Women's Aid have been keeping figures since 1996. And the average has always been around 10 women a year murdered in domestic abuse situations. That figure hasn't changed. And yet at a European level, they're saying we don't really have the stats to show and to contribute to the discussion because officially we're not recording it in the same way as a lot of other countries are. So you're relying on non-official sources, such as Women's Aid, to provide our total stats on the issue. So it's very hard to get resources, very hard to motivate people, to think more strategically about issues if it's not a priority and it's not on the agenda. And then you end up reacting to stuff, and it's all big stories, and it's in the moment.
It's peaks and troughs, isn't it? A tragedy happens, and there's a load of talk about it, and then it's until the next one. And as you say, it's almost like individual instances. Yet we see in other areas, as you've really made a very good comparison, it is grouped together and seen as a wider problem, and resources are thrown at it, and resources are moved around. So how do we then start to move away from that and just to realise this as a significant problem that needs to be tackled as such and not as a series of individual events?
Well, I think Minister McAteer is very enthusiastic about this, and she has taken it on and brought it into justice. So now domestic and sexual gender-based violence has moved from family and children, which I think probably contributed to the problem in terms of keeping it isolated and very regionalised, and has now come under, so we will be moving under the Department of Justice in January. And there is supposed to be a dedicated unit being developed at the moment, just focusing on this issue and feeding directly into the minister. So that's definitely a step in the right direction. The problem is domestic violence tends to cut across a number of areas. It is family, it is justice, it's also housing and environment. And there's never been a successful forum that has brought all of those departments together to say, this is the role you need to play, housing needs to support it. Mental health services need to contribute in this way. Children and family need to do this. That piece is the difficult bit. With gangland violence, it tends to fall under policing, and it tends to be a bit easier to manage in that sense. But where you've got interagency departments working, I think that's where a lot of it falls apart. So it'll be interesting to see how Minister McAteer's approach to it continues. She has the unit, it's under her wing, she is the lead agency now. It's the first time Justice have really been in control of it. So we'll see what difference they make to it.
Reading her comments, it seems to be, to me, though, that she's also putting it up to the public. She points out the fact that more women are murdered in their home than there are homicides. 1 in every 5 women have said they've been raped. I'll say that again. 20% of women say they have been raped. She seems to be saying, and I'm not for a second saying she's reneging on what she's trying to do, but she seems to be saying, and she does effectively say, why are people not screaming from the rooftops? If you then add into that the amount of women that have suffered domestic abuse, and then as well too amount of women that have been disproportionately affected by medical controversies and a whole litany of other things, pay discrimination and all that type of stuff. I probably shouldn't be grouping those in, but sometimes it's hard not for your mind not to wander from one issue to the next. Are they all part of the same thing? What is wrong with our attitude? Why do we have this attitude towards women?
Well, I suppose it's a societal issue, isn't it, in terms of, we do come from a patriarchal society. It is very much geared towards, and we still work within that stereotype of expectations of what we expect men to do, what we expect women to do, how we expect children to behave, and what we expect them to do. So it is about challenging that a little bit, because within that, there is also this culture that what happens in the home is a private sphere. And it's taken a long time to get that into a public domain and to get the idea that, these things happen in the home, but the state still has a responsibility to protect people. We've done it around children. We have legislation. We also now, through that legislation, have a forum whereby different agencies can come together and talk about the risks that those children are under, and it's legal for us to be able to share that data. We don't have the same legislation for adults. So vulnerable adults, people who are either been abused, who are in difficult situations, or who are not deemed to be totally mentally incapable of making decisions, but definitely need a level of assistance, there is no legal mechanism for us to be able to share data and information amongst agencies in relation to that client. And that's when you look at some of those domestic homicide reviews in the UK, that's where clients are falling through the system, and that's where things are falling apart and people are getting involved, and that's where homicides are occurring. So that's definitely one area that the Minister needs to look at. How can we share data effectively amongst agencies to support clients, and how do we define what is a vulnerable client? Because at the moment, we have no legal definition for that.
Okay, but the abuse of women, the murder of women, the serious assault of women is mainstream, but it's not everyday evident. You don't walk around. Every time you walk down the street, you are passing people who have been the victims of it, or maybe that person who was murdered doesn't pass you because they're no longer here. How do we... the societal change, where does that come from? Because, we have the power.
You say it's not visible, but I suppose for every woman it's visible.
No, 100%. That's exactly my point. It is. I said it's mainstream, right? But it's mainstream, but it's not evident, or we're not talking about it, or you know what I mean? Like, I know it's there, but I don't want to have these important conversations and then it seems like, well, then it's until the next time we talk. I'd love to know what we can do as a people.
And I'm not actually sure, in terms of the short term, what the answer to that is, other than to keep having conversations, to keep having the media talking about it. Because, like I say, it is every woman's experience at some level, and most men will know women who've had an experience similar to this, whether it's sexual harassment, whether it's harassment in the workplace, whether it's as a child, whether it's, as an adult within a relationship or external to a relationship. So this level of violence and tolerance towards it is one of the factors that means that domestic violence is so much harder to pick up, because where do you draw the line, in terms of what people feel is acceptable? If you've grown up in that environment, if you've experienced it as a child, if you then go on to experience it as an adult, who's there telling you that this is not the way that a relationship should be on both parties, perpetrator and victim? So all of those conversations need to happen. They need to happen in schools, they need to happen in communities, they need to happen in workplaces, they need to happen out in society generally. And sometimes, I think you can overdo it. People get tired of hearing information, but that doesn't change it. There's a lot of people going, "Oh, I'm not a feminist now. Women have equal rights. Everything is hunky dory." But the reality is, the level of violence against women is continuing to escalate. It hasn't changed, and it is tied into issues like domestic abuse, sexual abuse, and also the abuse of children. Like, wherever you've got vulnerable people and it's deemed okay to be violent and hostile towards them, that impacts on every aspect of society.
Yeah, for sure. And we were speaking to Barnardo's about that earlier in this hour, whereby, children in care are being actively targeted and exploited through sexual exploitation. And it's just... it's shocking what's going on at Marie, if you think about it.
So wherever you allow a vulnerable sector of society to kind of be abused in any form, you're effectively allowing it to infiltrate into society as a whole. So, like, it is about looking at all aspects of society, and whether it's in care homes, whether it's in respite, all of that, children in care. So it's a wider issue that in terms of just violence against women or just domestic abuse. It is into violence against women, and it's into violence against vulnerable people within society.
Okay.
It just happens that women
and listen, credit where credit is due. We'll have to wait and see what Justice Minister Helen McAteer what she can achieve. But I mean, like, are groups like yours being consulted? Like, we've had things in the past where announcements have been made and they seem quite significant, but speaking to someone who works in this area, someone like yourself, all of a sudden it unravels a little bit and it's not quite as impactful as one might think. So not you specifically, I hope it were you, are organisations like Donegal Domestic Violence Services being consulted on the ground? And is that feeding into policy so that we know it might actually make some change?
Well, our national organisations, Safe Island, would be the body that's kind of negotiating and meeting with, certainly with TUSLA in terms of the transition over to justice, and also meeting with the minister herself. So we would, at that level, so all individual services are feeding into that, and Safe Island is putting forward its point. But as we've just discussed, this is a bigger issue as well, and that legislation piece around vulnerable adults and sharing data, that impacts in a whole wide other areas. And are they being consulted? Are they being talked about? No, because the danger is you'll siphon it off again into a different group. So we do need to keep an eye on that, make sure that, yes, our sector gets resourced and funded and supported, but also that we're continually linked into the other sectors. And that's the piece that I think might be lost in this conversation.
Okay. Marie, thanks very much for your time, as always. That is Dr. Marie Hainsworth, Manager of Donegal Domestic Violence Services. Caller says, does anyone know if Garda vetting is transferable? My understanding is it is not, that it's that if you work with 3 or 4 organisations that you have to get vetted 3 or 4 times. Amber has been playing it right back with her German club, not a prolific goal-scoring position. Last night's performance assured her seat on the plane to Australia. Indeed, it wasn't my opinion as it relates to her club goal drought. That's something she referenced herself. Dogs still on the beach at Rathmullen. They need someone from the council to check this, says another listener. Another, I'll not be paying my TV licence anymore. Another, it's a proper disgrace. Too many getting too much money too easily. And more comments coming in like that. Just on the issue of domestic violence and assaults of women, nothing will change until our justice system does. No accountability most of the time unless it's murder and gets lots of press. Another key is educating, preparing young girls to see the signs and know how to avoid and safeguard themselves. Sexual abuse is rife too, and again, there's rarely the justice deserved for victims. 1 in 5 women have been raped.
At Centra, feel good and shop smart with great offers this week. Like Centra Fresh Irish Lamb Leg 1.2 kilo, only €9.99. Kellogg's Special K and Crunchy Nut 500 gram, now half price. And in our French wine sale, Rare Vineyard Sauvignon Blanc and Malbec, €9 each. Centra, live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Are you tired of waiting for treatment or surgery? Did you know you can receive immediate treatment across the border under the new NI planned healthcare scheme at potentially no cost? Donegal patients are still being treated with us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest post-Brexit. The process is easy and our dedicated team will help guide you through it. So why wait? Contact us today to find out how you can skip the waiting lists and receive treatment in Northern Ireland. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com, because life matters.
Foyleside, at the centre of more for your euro, with great value gifts. So it's worth making the journey wherever you live. With convenient parking, late nights and all your favourite brands, you're better off shopping at Foyleside. See foyleside.co.uk.
All the new Citroën models are on display this week during the open week at Highland Motors, Letterkenny. C3 and C3 Aircross SUV. C4 petrol, diesel and electric. The C5 Aircross SUV in petrol and diesel. Plus Berlingo vans, all in stock and ready for July delivery. Call Mark for a test drive on 9127007. The Citroën Open Week, now on at Highland Motors, Letterkenny. Nothing moves you like a Citroën.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to give blood and to choose to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Ballyshannon should attend the clinic in Colóiste Columkill in Ballyshannon on Monday 26th of June. And donors from Donegal, Killybegs and Dunlow should attend the clinic in the Abbey Hotel in Donegal Town from Tuesday 27th to Thursday 29th. Making an appointment is recommended, so call 1-800-731-137 to book your time. Visit giveblood.ie to see eligibility and clinic details.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie. With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to noon show on Highland Radio.
And as we head into the last hour of this week, we welcome into studio now Michaela Clark with the latest news headlines at 11.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The chair of the Public Accounts Committee says RTE has a lot of questions to answer over undeclared payments to Ryan Tubridy. The broadcaster yesterday admitted to payments of €345,000 between 2017 and 2022. Deputy Brian Stanley says the Public Accounts Committee has been misled by senior staff in RTE. The Finance Minister says it's important effective concrete block homeowners are treated as potentially vulnerable mortgage customers and dealt with accordingly. Minister Michael McGrath met this week with the Banking and Insurance Redress Focus Group. He was responding in the Dáil to Donegal Deputy Pearse Doherty, who has called for bespoke arrangements recognising the unique circumstances of affected homeowners to be put in place by banks. A Scottish company has announced that it is to open a new base in Donegal. Be Positive will officially open in G-Techie Door on Tuesday. The company's director, Colin Quinn, says being based in Donegal gives them access to a highly educated and talented workforce. Half of people who were in prison for breaching domestic abuse barring orders were given a suspended sentence. New figures obtained by Deputy Fergus O'Dowd showed over 4,700 breaches were reported to Gardaí in 2021, a 50% increase in the space of 3 years. Of those, 530 people were convicted before the courts. A warning has been issued over yet another scam impersonating Gardaí. This time, scammers are targeting people via email, claiming to be investigating a criminal matter. And the first turbine has been installed at Lenalea Wind Farm in Donegal. It's expected the 7-turbine development will be operational by the last quarter of this year, and when complete, the wind farm will generate enough renewable energy to power 20,000 homes annually. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Thank you very much, Michaela.
Is your home or motor insurance up for renewal? Now is the time to check if your policy still offers you the right cover and the right fit at the right price. To be sure you're getting the best deal, take this opportunity to shop around. It's easier than you think. Simply contact your insurer or broker today. Remember, don't just renew, review. For more information, visit understandinginsurance.ie. Brought to you by Insurance Ireland.
That time of the week again, and we have it'll be a kind of a three-hander at times. For the time being, we have in studio with us Michael Leddy, writer, blogger and writer. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
Great to have you with us.
Great to be here. Great fun.
And our guest this week is Dahi Ramsey, marketing manager at Ongrianon Theatre in Letterkenny. How are you getting on, Dahi?
I'm good, Greg.
It's good to have your microphone would help. That's not a me problem.
All right.
No, I have you now. Good morning to you. And Fanula will be joining us a little later on in the hour. How are you getting on, gents? Are you
very good.
All right,
yeah, very good.
Lovely sunny.
We've already.
Donegal yesterday.
Say again?
Lovely sunny day in Donegal yesterday.
Yeah, it is yesterday.
Yes. We already started the review programme because for 10 minutes we've been chatting TV out in the waiting room. So
that's to be banned.
I know that.
That's
I know you disapprove.
I disapprove of speaking before the interviews, and I disapprove of speaking during the ad breaks, because then
no content.
Well, it's not that, but then you can't. People are naturally uncomfortable repeating themselves.
It'll be like the golfers. You want to blindfold or something.
Yeah,
like exactly. Blind dates used to be. Put them in a sort of room.
Blind date.
Oh, blind date.
Show, right?
I know. Every Saturday. Well, why was I watching? But I'd never missed it. There was years I just.
It was great TV.
It was great TV, I suppose. Yeah.
It was simple TV.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and Cilla Black was a class act, wasn't she?
She was, absolute, yeah. Star power there, you know, she really
You're
had.
a bit quiet there, Dahi. Are you back from that mic, or can you move?
I am.
Can you move forward a little bit, or pull it to you, or just you're quite distant? So the numbers facing you there.
How's that?
It still seems a wee bit. Try that. 1, 2.
1, 2.
That's terrible. I'll come around and sort it out in a second. We'll start with Michael, and that'll give me a chance to do so.
Oh, okay.
Right, okay, Michael. T.G. Cahar, the thrill of it all. Nice to start with something that's on sort of terrestrial.
Yes, exactly. And that's, again, something people do say to me from time to time. People say, oh, gosh, you know, not everyone has Netflix and all that kind of stuff. And don't forget about great films that are on regular TV. So the thrill of it is a Doris Day, James Garner movie. from so anyway, as you see, Di, a lot of the time you just have to ignore Greg because you don't know what he's going to be doing.
I don't often get to sit on that side.
No, you don't.
Go ahead, yeah.
I love that people can see this on the cameras.
So anyway, I'm just ignoring everything. So yeah, it's a Doris Day, James Garner. Oh, total James Garner movie from 1963, and it's on tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock on TG Car. This is a movie I would have seen a few times growing up, so it was an excuse to revisit it late last night. And it's a very 1960s kind of story. She is an ordinary housewife, and at a dinner party, an offhand comment she makes draws her to the attention of a big-time businessman who is doing these TV adverts for his soap, Happy Soap, and he realises that she is the perfect spokeswoman for his product. So what happens? She becomes a superstar, and the story is, how does her husband, James Garner, a very successful doctor, cope with the fact that his wife is now in the workplace and is actually the primary wage earner because she's earning like $100,000 for doing these ads. So it's a very 1960s kind of thing in that it's like, oh my God, women coming out into the workplace and how do men cope with this? So it's very timely. It ends in a way that might provoke discussion in many a household, but that's because it's a 1963 movie and it's a comedy and you got to go with it and laugh.
But sometimes you need to think about where you are and where you're going. It's no harm dipping into the past either.
Of course, I completely agree. And I think and I've read a few reviews last night. A lot of people were saying like it's almost an iconic feminist movie. Like it's trying to be. Had it come out in 1970?
Really?
Well, it has the bones of it, but the ending kind of undoes a lot of that. I don't spoiler. Carl Reiner is the guy who wrote this, and Carl Reiner is one of those guys. He did a lot of those, Steve Martin movies like The Man with Two Brains, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, The Jerk. That was Carl Reiner. So he's a guy who was the comedy chops, and he did a lot of TV stuff. And he tells the A story very well. But what myself and Dahi, we both watched it. We were chatting about it before we came in. There's a lot of digs at the television industry and the type of... and they really work.
They really work, yeah.
And they're sort of timeless.
Yeah.
There's one example where it's obvious, for instance, from week to week that very much the same stories are being told on TV. And we have one shot of the TV executives going, well, the subtle variations in what we're doing, the average viewer wouldn't pick up on it. And then there's a cut... and there's two little kids in her house and they're like, that's the same story they told last week, but they're just wearing different costumes. So there's a lot of that stuff in it. It's obvious that Ryder...
Why can't we talk about the end? I mean, it was
we can.
But then if people want to watch it,
65 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
too soon, kind of thing.
Too soon. Well, let's put it this way, right? It's the 1960s. She's a primary.
Did she give up her career and end up just going back to be a good housewife?
Yeah,
possibly. Yes.
Yeah,
and it has to be. It has to be. Says he gaslights her.
Oh, completely.
Completely to do so.
Completely. He sets up a whole. Like we have scenes of him putting lipstick on his collar to imply that maybe he has something going on outside the home too.
Yeah.
Silly. But it's a lot of reviewers who like this did say the first 2/3 are where it's at.
Yeah.
And by the third act, they sort of didn't know what. It's too long. You were saying it's too long.
It is. I was watching it myself. My wife, Deirdre, last night watched it because I met Michael. He was down for a latte in the theatre cafe yesterday and mentioned he was going to watch it.
Here for.
Yeah. So we watched it last night, and about 2/3 of the way through, Deirdre just went, this is kind of flagging, isn't it? It's really losing it. And the ending's obvious.
Yeah.
For a, it's an early 60s film. It's Doris Day. I mean, as I was saying to Michael, what I knew of Doris Day was originally from the Grease song. Where Rizzo would look at me, I'm Doris Day, I was not brought up this way, won't go to bed till I'm legally wed, I can't, I'm Doris Day.
Yeah.
So you expect Doris Day to be playing the wholesome, character and stuff. So it's Doris Day, you know kind of where the ending's going. So they throw in a whole new comedy moment.
At the end,
in that last third to try and
which is not
pick up the pace.
The story that we've described to you. It's a whole other thing.
They throw another thing.
It's too long. The movie
is too long. It's an hour and 40 and today it'd be 40 minutes tops.
Pardon my ignorance. This would have been a cinema release at the time.
Yes, and it was a big hit.
Yeah,
it was one of the top 20 movies.
People go, you have to go along and see the thread of it all in the cinema.
Yeah.
I mean, it's James Garner. It's
James
Doris
Garner
Day,
it's the same year that James Garner did The Great Escape.
Yeah,
and he also did another film with Doris Day that year called Move Over Darling, which is much more critically acclaimed. Now, it sounds like we're down talking thrill of it, but we're not really. It's funny.
It's fun.
But when you look at it from the political lens of 60 years ago, you're like, okay, they were definitely...
Hey, we could be going back to those times.
I think they were actually making a political point with it because I think it's kind of almost 50s politics.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the culture clash of the 50s and the 60s. So the emancipated woman, she's out earning him. And what's the reaction to this?
Yeah.
Well, it's okay. We're staying with the politics we have of the times with men and women.
So
and as somebody pointed out, again, I read a few reviews last night, and one of the reviews said that that's definitely everything that he said is right. But when you look at the logistics of it, she's filming an ad for a couple of hours a week. It's not like she's actually out of the house 5 days a week.
Yeah.
But
do you
it's
think
still
some
an
people will watch it and be offended by it? That, in other words, you know what, really? Yeah, it's of the 60s, but it should be cancelled. It shouldn't be on at all. Will some people feel that, do you think?
I think a lot of the people who'll be drawn to it will be people like myself who have a view of nostalgia and think, I remember seeing this in 1988 and it was on BBC on a Sunday evening and it's charming and I laugh. I don't think I don't think anyone will discover it. Like, I wouldn't recommend.
No, I'm not saying people are going to go, I've just watched this for the first time, it's best ever. But do you know where I'm going from?
Yeah,
that?
I think you could watch it and be annoyed by his character.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's going to be trying to cancel a 60-year-old movie. And I don't think, does cancel it even work? But that's a bigger question.
Yeah, well.
But like, I don't think anyone's doing that. But you can be annoyed by him. I came out thinking he's
his attitude.
You're like, he's an idiot.
Yeah, completely.
You know.
And as the movie goes on, and I love James Garner.
Yeah.
But I mean, towards the end of the movie, I was like, this guy is a jerk. He's a jerk. He's a jerk.
Yeah.
He's gaslighting her. He's really making her think. And it's just, and the only reason it's just he just wanted to have a job.
Right, okay.
That's it.
Right, okay, so you can enjoy this, at least the first 2/3 of it. It's on TG Cahar, TG4, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow evening at 5. And again, the comedy moments, the final word I'll say, the comedy moments are big and funny, and that's why you should pay attention. They are big comedy moments.
Great side gags. Say fair play to all of you for watching it. I think that's...
Thank you.
You watched a 60-year-old film to review it for the 5 people that might watch it on TG Cahar. I mean, that is... brilliant.
The way I looked at it too, I was saying this today, was that I would probably never, without this impetus to do it, I would probably never revisit it. So when I saw that it was on, I was like, this is an excuse to see something that I used to watch when Mum and Dad were in the kitchen and we're all watching these things together. And those are happy memories too. So I thought, you know what? I'll do that. That's what I'll watch.
Brilliant. Okay, good stuff. Conor McCauley is in On Green On Theatre. Talk to me about this.
Yeah, Conor is here with the Improvised Music Company, so they pay for him to come and spend a couple of weeks with the theatre. And he's a drummer. He's with Balkan Alien Sound and Bazork. And he's doing stuff with the local community. So on Saturday, that's tomorrow now, isn't it?
Yeah.
At 2:00, he's doing drumming workshop. It'll be taking place in the RCC, the shiny building above the theatre, and people are welcome to come along. Just bring your sticks, don't need to bring anything else.
Traditional drum set?
I'm not sure exactly what he'll have. He'll have a big kit. He plays in a lot of different stuff. So he plays traditional Irish, he plays world music.
So it's all percussion, really.
All percussion.
Right across the board.
So he's doing a workshop, and he's saying, just bring sticks.
Okay.
And people can play or not play as well. They can go and watch along, any drummers. So that'll be a room full of drummers. Next Thursday evening at 7:00 in the theatre, on the stage, what he's inviting are any musicians to come along and improvise with him. So there'll be an hour to an hour and a half of they're going to improvise music together. So he's looking for 10 to 25 people to come along. And
when you in that environment, when you improvise, right, is that you sort of start off with a beat and then it moves into a well-known song, or do they just sort of play chords that they think that's going well with what's going at the moment and create music? Not that there's a right or a wrong to it, but I've never been to something like that.
They're not going to a well-known song.
Yeah.
No, they're going to try and create something fresh.
And it just meanders then, doesn't it? Like a long piece of music.
Yeah, I guess it's a jam in a way. I mean, he may stop and he may recalibrate, and improvisation's his thing, and he studied improvisation. So I imagine there'd be direction from him.
Okay, now that event next Thursday, did you say?
Thursday at 7.
Open to the public?
It's open to it's open to any musicians who want to go along and take part. It's at 7:00. It's absolutely free. Everything's covered in the residency. But we'd like people for that to book, just so he knows what instrument you're bringing.
100%, all right. Okay.
Singers, obviously.
Contact
any
the box
instrument.
office?
Contact the box office, yeah.
All right, that sounds interesting. Conor McCauley, masterclass tomorrow, and then the jamming session, really, Thursday night.
Yeah, the improvisation session. Yep.
Would it be appropriate for me to say, that sounds banging? Because that's what the kids say, and it's drums. Boom, there you go. I bring the comedy, Danny brings the info, and I bring the laughs.
I actually think you've missed the mark there. But
this is where one of my kids would call you a boomer.
Yeah.
Because I said, I
think so.
That's the word Greg was thinking of too.
Exactly. We'll be back with more from Dahi and Michael, and Fanula will be making an appearance at some stage too after these.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is a guaranteed €17 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Cow culture cost farmers millions. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Our exclusive analysis reveals how a potential cow cull scheme could impact your farm. County councils to ramp up water quality inspections on farms. New grants to do up all farmhouses and farm safety measures. Find out who can claim the new 60% women's TAMS payment. And don't miss your free 32-page summer food magazine with unmissable advice on cooking the perfect steak.
All inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal, on sale today.
Century Cinemas has launched the brand new premium experience, featuring 2 upgraded screens with luxury reclining seats, cosy couches, and 4K laser projectors with 7.1 surround sound. Premium screens are now open, showing exciting new movies and also offering bar service on the weekend. Book your premium tickets at centurycinemas.ie now.
Do you currently have vacancies that need urgently filled? Have you tried various ways to find new staff but didn't succeed? Let Highland Radio help you source and fill your current vacancies in the most cost-effective way. Simply sign up to our new job spot and we will tell our listeners about your vacancies both on air and online. Every Monday, Wednesday and Friday during our primetime shows, we will broadcast the latest job opportunities across the Northwest and into counties Derry and Tyrone. All job listings will be available online at highlandradio.com. For more information, contact the advertising team on 07491 25322 or email advertising@highlandradio.com. Highland Radio, we're here for you.
The groom goes free. The groom goes free. Yes, you heard it. The Groom's Room. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park. The groom goes free. Call in today. Terms and conditions apply.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at
18 minutes past 11. Now, I have a very special guest in studio with me this morning now. It's Conor McCready, 10 years of age from Carrigans. Good morning to you, Conor.
Good morning.
How are you keeping?
Good.
Good stuff. Are you finished school now?
And I think it's on next week.
Oh, no. Is that right, Mum?
Yeah, next week.
Okay, all right. But then you're free for the summer?
Yes.
And have you anything exciting planned?
Don't know.
Just chill out. See, is that a Liverpool top you have on? The full kit?
Yeah.
Big fan?
Yeah.
All right, very good. Okay, good to have you in. Right now, you are hosting a really special event. It's in aid of the Donegal Hospice, and it's coming up on Sunday, and you've come in to let people know, so loads and loads of people go. It's in the Orchard Inn in Letterkenny, and it's from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. this Sunday. So why did you decide to plan this, Conor?
Because the Donegal Hospice took care of my 2 grannies, and they put like loads of what was it again?
Care and attention into them, and because they treated your 2 grannies so well, you want to give something back. Is that right?
Yeah.
Now, do you love country music yourself?
Yeah.
And your grannies love country music too?
Of course.
Of course they did. All right. Okay. And is that why you're sort of putting a country theme into this?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's going to happen on the day? Do you have any artists performing?
I think Kieran Brown, and that's all I know. There's
Simon
more.
Peters is there?
Yeah.
Paul McCahill?
Yeah.
Johnny Haughey?
Yeah.
And many, many more.
Yeah.
Is Keelan Brown your favourite?
Yeah.
I was thinking that. And do you sing yourself? Do you jive, or do you just like listening to country music, Conor?
I just like listening to it.
Okay. And who is your favourite artist?
Probably. I don't have a favourite.
Good. You just like it all.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Okay. And can you remember who was the best show that you went to?
On the go on the shows, like the music shows.
All right, okay. You've seen them play live though here and there, hasn't he, Mum?
Yeah.
Okay. And Carol, do you have a love of country music too?
Oh, I do, yeah.
All right. And where did that come from? Your mum as well, I presume, as well.
Yeah, my mum. Yeah.
Who's your favourite artist? I don't listen to country. I was going to say I can't listen to country, and I can name a couple. Luke Holmes is he's just come out of the blue for people who aren't country fans, and then all of a sudden I heard he was coming to Dublin and Belfast, and the tickets were like, all of a sudden loads of people I know were huge Luke Holmes fans.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I just thought, and it was around the time I think he announced the concert around about the time Garth Brooks was about to play or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's huge, absolutely huge. Do you like Luke yourself, Conor?
What?
Do you like Luke Combs?
Yeah.
All right, okay, very good. You don't have tickets to go and see him, though?
No.
Couldn't get tickets.
Couldn't. But listen, he'll be back again. Right, so it runs from 1 until 5 on Sunday, and then there's loads of people performing. I presume you want as many people as possible to come along and support the event, Connor.
Yeah. Entries are free, and everybody's welcome to come in on Sunday.
Okay, now you've already done fantastic in raising money already, haven't you? Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
I raised nearly £8,000 for the Donegal Hospice.
And how did you do that, Connor?
I made chocolate sleighs and Coca-Cola bottles for Christmas.
Yeah, because you're 10 now, you're into double digits, but you've had an interest in the Donegal Hospice for a couple of years now. So
Yeah.
I think 7 was the age you started, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, okay. I've never heard of a country tea party before, so this sounds like a first to me. It's going to be brilliant.
Yeah.
All right, you don't sing yourself though, no? Or maybe you do.
No, I don't sing.
Okay, right, okay. Well, Gary Gamble's going to be there too, I think.
Yeah.
He used to be here. He's a great entertainer. I don't know, will it be Gary Gamble or Daniel O'Donnell that turns up? I don't know, maybe a bit of both. And are you a Daniel O'Donnell fan?
Yeah.
Good stuff, all right. So, how proud are you, Carol, of Connor?
We're very
I was going to say
proud
wee
of
Connor, but he's a big boy. He's 10 now.
We're very proud of Connor. He's a big interest in the hospice since he's about 7. So my mum had passed away there in the hospice, and then my mother-in-law passed away there in the hospice about a few months after that. Both
Now,
of them.
your mum was well cared for in the hospice, but before that she lived with you, didn't she?
Yeah.
And Connor was very good to Granny.
Connor was very good. He got up early every morning, didn't you, Connor?
Mm-hmm.
He gave her tea, and when she was going through the chemo, he was very, very good. Used to rub her head and everything, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And then his other granny just lived up around the street. You want to tell Greg, what did you do there in the mornings?
I cycled up every morning and made her coffee and made her butter biscuits.
Oh, I love buttered biscuits. Digestives. Was that her favourite?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. And a cup of coffee. Wow, what a brilliant grandson. You also yourself, you play football too, don't you? Play for
Yeah.
Kildrum Tigers.
Yeah.
What position do you play?
I play goalkeeper and sometimes outfield.
Yeah, do you like goals?
Yeah.
All right, good, because sometimes you have to force them into goals, but it's good that you enjoy it. And of course, as I said, a huge Liverpool fan as well.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Well, I'm sure we're all very proud of you, actually, because you're a brilliant young fella, especially Carol. I'm sure your 2 grannies, too, are looking down, very, very proud of you with the love and care that you gave them. And the listeners are saying things like, what a fantastic job, a credit to his mum. Hello, this is Connor's interview. Carol's all right. No, I joke. What a fantastic job. Credit to his mum. Come on, everyone, and support this great event. And we're going to recap that. And also, what an amazing young man. Everybody out there, they say, is very proud of you, Connor. Do you feel that? Do you understand how people think you're such a great young lad?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay. Right. So we encourage you, if you can, to get along this Sunday to the Orchard in Letterkenny from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. It's organised by 10-year-old Conor McCready from Carrigan's with a lot of support from Mum, I'm sure. Is Mum a good support for this? Is she helping out well too?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Is there anything else that you want to say? You're throwing out invites there, aren't you? In case there's any other country stars listening, they can turn up. You'll accept them, will you?
Yeah.
Okay, you got a video from Daniel O'Donnell?
Did you?
Yeah.
All right. What did he say?
Well done, though.
All right, okay. Who's to say? Hey, if he was around, I don't know. Well, you never know where Daniel is, but wouldn't that be some surprise if he turned up?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Well, listen, regardless, you already have a fantastic lineup. It's going to be a great day. Are you looking forward to it? Are you excited for it? Like?
Yeah, very.
All right, okay. You're going to dress up? Do you wear country gear? You're just going to wear your Liverpool top or what?
My Liverpool top, probably.
And a cowboy hat, maybe. That'll be the only compromise. All right, listen, please, as many of you can, get along and support this country tea party. It's in aid of the Donegal Hospice. Already, Connor, since the age of 7, has raised €6,000. You heard how wonderful and caring he was to his grannies, and you can reward that and the great work the hospice did in continuing that care for both ladies by getting along this Sunday, even just to stick your head in to the Orchard in Letterkenny from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. You say it's free to get in, and then you're asking maybe people if they want to do a donate, or is there any raffles or anything, Mum?
Yeah, it's free entry to get in.
Yeah.
So we have lots of spot prizes and lots of hampers.
And lots of fun.
Lots of fun.
All right, okay. The problem, I think, will be stopping it at 5, Connor.
Yeah.
That'll be the problem. All right, okay. And listen, have a lovely summer when you get your school finished up. More people wishing you so well. Siobhan saying on Facebook, an amazing young lad, because people are able to watch you all over the world too during this, Connor. So do you want to give them a quick wave to that camera to your right there? Good boy. All right, Connor, listen, well done. Best of success. Thank you so much for calling in. You did fantastic. And you barely needed Mom at all.
Yeah.
But Carol, thanks very much
Thank
as
you
well
very
for you
much.
to call in, all right? And I hope it's a huge success. And keep doing what you're doing, Connor. It's amazing. To raise 6,000 is just 8,000, sorry, it is now, I think you said, isn't it? Yeah. To raise 8,000 is a remarkable achievement, and I hope Sunday is the success it deserves to be. Thank you so much for calling in. We're all really proud of you. You're doing brilliant.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, Connor.
Bye-bye.
Do you want to say hello to anyone before you go?
Can I say hello to everybody at my school? Can I say hello to Mr. O'Kane and Mr. Kane and all my friends at Belugra?
That's your school?
He goes to Belugra Primary School.
Brilliant. Okay. And you can't be too long there now. What class are you in, or when are you move?
P6.
Right, okay, well done. All right, okay. Now, you'll have the whole summer to look forward to now, and then a new term for September. Conor McCready, thank you very much indeed. Carol as well, thank you so much for calling in, both from Carrigan's, and both looking forward to that great event. It is a country tea party for the Donegal Hospice this Sunday in the Orchard Inn between 1 and 5 p.m.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Sit back, relax, and sink into the comfort of a new sofa. Available now at the Easy Living Furniture Sizzling Summer Sofa Sale. With up to 2 years interest-free finance on a wide range of sofas that are in stock and ready for delivery. Luxurious designs, unbeatable prices, and endless comfort await you. The Sizzling Summer Sofa Sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Dreaming of a getaway this summer? There's still time to book with TUI, flying from Dublin, Cork and Shannon airports. Summer, best enjoyed on holiday. TUI, live happy.
Cow culture cost farmers millions. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Our exclusive analysis reveals how a potential cow cull scheme could impact your farm. County councils to ramp up water quality inspections on farms. New grants to do up all farmhouses and farm safety measures. Find out who can claim the new 60% women's TAMS payment. And don't miss your free 32-page summer food magazine with unmissable advice on cooking the perfect steak.
All inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal, on sale today.
Crawford Tiles and More Castlefin. Summer offers now on. 10% off everything for the month of June. Wall and floor tiles, all sizes from small to extra large. Brand new selection of wood flooring in stock. Over 60 bathrooms on display. Tile and bathware clearance available outside. Late nights opening on Thursday till 8. Closed Saturdays. Crawford Tiles and More Castlefin.
Our wide range of 2023 Skodas are going fast. This is the sound of the Breen family getting their powerful diesel Kodiaq. And this is fully charged Fiona, driving away in her electric Skoda Enyaq. And this is the sound of someone who didn't place their order in time. Order your 2023 Skoda today, before it's too late. Skoda, made for Ireland.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clare Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396 or visit dmgmotors.ie.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme, and lovely to have Conor and his mum Carol in studio. And as we're discussing whilst I popped out to grab something, Michael and Dahi, what were you doing when you were 10?
Well, when I was 10 years old, I told Dahi I was obsessively watching TV and reading comic books. So a lot has changed. A lot has changed in my life.
Right, fess up, Dahi.
I was probably playing football. I mean, I was a goalkeeper too at that age, you know.
Right.
Sadly, I didn't grow enough for that career, but yeah.
Were you good enough to pursue it if you had grown a couple of inches, I wonder?
Absolutely not, but I'd like to think so. I may have claimed it at occasional times in a bar somewhere, but no,
All right,
not
brilliant
at all.
stuff. All right, listen, he's brilliant. What an amazing young lad. This show on Netflix, I always struggle to say because one of my worst fears is swearing on radio.
Of course, yeah.
So what show?
But everybody knows you're okay. I mean, everyone knows it.
Schitt's Creek.
No, that's not the name
All
of
right,
it.
what is it then?
It's called Schitt's Creek.
Right, talk to me about it.
It's got a C in it, I'll grant you that.
As I say, I know Fionnuala raves about it.
She loves it, yeah. I never
films?
got into it, but that's just a time issue. I saw the pilot, loved the pilot.
Donna Marie thinks it's an amazing show.
Yeah, people do. People
Do you
love
know, it's very much comfort TV to me. This is my second watch through, and what I would say is it really stands up again. It's a Canadian show, and I suppose it has some of that Canadian sensibility. The more, what do we think of as Canadians? Polite.
Yeah, they're very polite. Yeah, it lacks the aggression.
Courteous.
Yeah, it's very courteous. Yeah, I mean, there's some great. I love Canadian shows like Corner Gas and Kim's Convenience, which Dahi, you got me into Kim's Convenience.
Yeah.
So it's in that wheelhouse, and it's highly acclaimed.
It's highly acclaimed. And listen, it's people, they were billionaires essentially. They've lost all the money. The money men have run off fraud. They've lost all the money. Everything's taken away. But as a joke, he bought this Canadian town.
Right.
Apparently you can do that. You can own towns and I don't know. But he bought the rights to this town as a joke for his son at some stage, paid $1 million. So they have to move there and live in the local motel. It's the only accommodation.
Because they have nothing else, isn't that kind of? Because I saw the first time, I loved it. Again, I know it's
a simple setup, but look at the scope it gives you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's that idea.
Yes.
It's almost the Kardashians are pulled down to living in the local. You know what I mean?
See, that's your elevator pitch.
Nothing.
You know, they talk about an elevator pitch. This idea, you get an exec and you say, I have a show for you, and it's Kardashians lose all their money, they have to live in a small town. That's your pitch.
That's pretty much it.
That's it.
And it's just really funny, and in some ways it's old school in its sort of comedy because it's all on the dialogue. It's on very clever writing. But what I would say, if people are going to go to it, it's a builder. They kind of find the characters over the first season.
So it's more than just a sitcom in a series of half hours with situations. There's a bit more to it.
There is an overarching kind of story.
Yeah.
And they do, obviously as it goes on, there's quite a few seasons, so they get more elaborate, I suppose, in some of them, and really, really funny and go quite, really funny. But yeah, they find the characters and they find where they're going over the first season. So it's the second season.
Which is common. A lot of shows are like that. I mean, when you think of Scrubs, I think it gets better.
Well, you have to establish characters.
You have to establish characters,
and I think the actors are finding the character they're playing.
Yeah.
As well.
And if I know from social media, the mother and the son, I think, are they the ones that really popped? Am I right? Is that what
absolutely.
They popped in a big way.
Absolutely.
They're like a pop culture thing beyond the show. You know how characters just break out sometimes?
Yeah.
The way Bart Simpson did in the early years of The Simpsons, even though the show is about Homer.
And I mean, she's said it's Catherine O'Hara, isn't it? Plays the mother, who's a long time established comedy actor. She's a veteran
comedy people,
but she's brilliant. And there's quite a lot of Irish names there. So there's Catherine O'Hara, there's Annie Murphy, obviously plays her daughter. The guy playing David Rose, whose name escapes me off the top of the head now because he's one of the writers. I mean, his facial work, what he's doing, the comedy facial work he's doing, you can see other actors round him trying desperately not to laugh when he just raises an eyebrow.
Yeah,
just the incredible reactions.
Yeah.
So it's comfort TV. It's very easy going. I can't imagine anybody's going to be triggered by it unless they've lost a fortune at some stage.
Fair enough. That's a good point.
And heartily recommend it. Very binge watchable. You could almost watch it as well sometimes when you're doing something else, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I like those type of shows. Sometimes I don't want to intently commit my entire focus to something. I like a background show, but you're still watching it and chuckling stuff.
Because so much of it is dialogue and really funny dialogue, really well written, you're distracted over here.
It could have worked on radio. It could be adapted. The old school,
absolutely.
like Dad's Army famously was very easily adapted by BBC for BBC Radio, and they didn't really have to do much to the scripts. They just ran with it, and Steptoe and Son as well. So some of those shows are very...
I think it would,
Right, okay. Excellent. Just watching a bit of the trailer here, actually. It looks... actually, I'm gonna watch it. I'm going to watch a couple of episodes, but as you say, you need to commit to it a wee bit, don't you? Yeah.
There are also whole websites devoted to David's clothing. and where you can find David's clothing, because his wardrobe is just incredible.
Okay.
And
yeah, he popped in a big
so
way.
You can dig into this just as much as you want to, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah. Caller says, Schitt's Creek's an amazing show. Really didn't think much of the first 2 episodes, but went back to it and absolutely loved all of it. So disappointed when it was over. I had that week. Yeah. I think I started Breaking Bad 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
It just didn't grab you.
No, well, I thought it was about something else. I thought it was about, it was a bit heavy about someone with a terminal illness and stuff, and where could they go with this? And as it turned out, it was one of the best shows ever made. So you can't judge necessarily a book by the first couple of pages. You need to
completely
flick through. Okay,
completely agree.
Wishing Caroline in Master Shoe a very happy 40th birthday. Sorry, a very happy 40 years in business. Exciting day ahead. Wow, great achievement. 40 years doing anything is quite the achievement. Right, okay. Let me see. Who do I have? I have Conor Grimes joining us now. Conor Grimes, Grimes and McKee's New Ireland is on in the Bala Theatre on Saturday night at 8:45. Conor, good morning to you. Hopefully you can hear me. Good morning. How are you keeping?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Or else I'm an amazing lip reader or bluffer or both. How are you keeping?
I'm keeping fantastic. I'm sitting here in Tyrone and it's quite beautiful.
Yes, it is, of course. Not as beautiful as Donegal, where you're coming tomorrow. Talk to me about the show, Conor.
Okay, well, myself and Alan McKee work mostly out of Belfast and have done a number of shows, including one quite big show called The History of the Troubles, According to My Da. So we had done the history, and one day we were just thinking, really in the north, this word has sort of been bandied about New Ireland, sort of as some sort of compromise, to be non-divisive. And we just thought to ourselves, what if we were 30 years down the line and Ireland had united to become New Ireland, to the satisfaction of most of the people on the island? What could it possibly look like? And that's where the show began, a step into the future.
And in 30 years' time, do we forget the big stuff and find ourselves fussing over the little things?
Well, yes. There's a few things we found. It was quite a tricky show to write because, as you know, using your imagination in something like this can be, fraught with difficulty and lots of prevarication and procrastinating while writing it. But yeah, we started to realise that, what would the flag look like and what would the national dish be, the national dog, all these sort of questions popped into our heads, and we were sort of getting a bit of crack out of those. What would the, transport be like? If it was free travel for all, would there be first class on the trains for the rich people? These are the sort of things that, we started to look at. What would the paramilitaries do with so-called nothing to do, and whatnot? And what would the newest theme park in the world be? Of course, it would be Disneyland.
Okay. And you also, I like this one, you also ask who will chair the peace talks between Tato and Free Stato, which I presume are the ones that we get in the Republic.
Yes, and of course, some of the Republicans like Free Stato, as they call it, but they don't like the red, white and blue bags. They find that an insult to the patriot dead, There's lots and lots of complications. What we found about the Tato thing, and it has caught the imagination a little bit, is that much like the IFA and the FII, there was a split. No one's really sure who split. You would need someone who was there at the time. There seemed to be a franchise and a split between the two, slightly different flavours, same stable, and people are vehemently passionate about the subject. We have found. When
I'm a free stato. There's just no doubt about that. But not in the multi-pack. Only when bought individually. I think the flavour fails. Yes, I do. Sorry, controversial. I think the flavour is compromised in a Tato crisp bag out of a multi-pack. And you know what? It is a hill I am actually prepared to die upon. So I am ready to go. So how do you and your partner in crime tell us this story? What can people look forward to, Conor? How is it presented to the audience?
Okay, we open the show up with, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the future. And it's kind of a little bit like a sit back, relax, buckle up. And what I essentially, we do shows in the north all the time, but this one we're coming to Donegal on purpose. We were in Leitrim last weekend, and then we finished this tour. We're back in Belfast for the West Belfast Festival and in the Lyric Theatre in September. But we wanted to come down here because we want the people to see what they're going to get. So it's kind of a little bit like a love letter or a begging letter to the south. The Nordies are mental, but it's going to be all right. And the craziness that has to be accepted, the colour of the bunting, all these things that the Southerners are going to have to stomach. Is that the right word? And indeed, some of them actually love it. There's a whole big, graw for the 12th of July amongst some of the Southerners, and different wee surprises like that. But basically, we're saying to the South, will you take us if it's going to go that way?
Okay. And come here, is it just all-out comedy, or do you accidentally, on purpose, send the audience away with something of a message?
Yes, a few people have said, and this is an odd thing, that they found it strangely moving, and I know that's a cliche. When you're dealing with the future, you're obviously hooking over the past. There's a lot of, Ireland's had a lot of problems and is going to continue to have a lot of problems. So, yeah, there are various things in there that are wistful and so on. But no, essentially, it is a comedy. And, yeah, if you're having a glimpse into the future, this is our imagination, nothing more.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, so it's tomorrow night, 8:45. It's in the Bala Theatre, and you can check the box office for ticket availability. Thanks, Conor, for your time. Have a lovely day.
Can I just say that we moved...
Of course you can. Yes, go ahead.
We moved the time of the show was originally 8 o'clock, but of course Donegal are playing Tyrone in Ballybuffet tomorrow evening. And their throw-in is at 7 o'clock. So we realised that there were people phoning the theatre to say, we're going to go to the Donegal match, obviously. What can happen? So we've moved it then to 8:45, hoping there's no extra time, and hoping then that people can go to the match and then come straight into the Ballor Theatre.
Yeah, on a high following a Donegal victory. All right, take care of yourself. You're in Tyrone, so I'm cutting you off now. Conor, listen, thanks for your time. Conor Grimes, Grimes and McKee's New Ireland. Actually, kind of an interesting concept, that, isn't it?
They're great performers, two of them, great comic actors. Yeah. And I think most people recognise them from that advert where they go in a filing cabinet. I wouldn't mention the product, but I think most people recognise them from that. They're great comic actors, and certainly.
And it is a strong idea. It's a strong idea. Excuse me. Yeah, it's a strong idea.
Yeah, Cola says it's nice to sort of play with our cultural differences without it being directly anchored in the past, although it is to some extent. But do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Do you get where I'm
fun with the future?
Have fun with it.
Have fun with the future and see where it takes us. Okay, Schitt's Creek is just brilliant, funny, loved it. Says a caller. Donna Marie, could you get Fionnuala, the Highland Radio overlord? She can come in after the next ad break. Did she watch Flash with you?
She did.
Right. Okay. So we might involve her in that.
Oh yeah.
Let me see. Kind of want to go. We'll go to a podcast with you if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
Before the break. Yep. Joanne McAnally and Vogue Williams, My Therapist Ghosted Me. Interested to see this on the list for a reason I can't really explain.
Well, I'm not really the target market.
Yes.
It has to be said.
Okay.
I'm not. But I thought I mentioned it last time, and it is an absolute phenomenon. They've done the 3 Arena, the Royal Albert
I don't
Hall.
get that.
They're selling huge amounts of tickets.
I don't get it, but
so I thought, well, dive in, see what's so successful about it. And actually, I'm really not the target market, but it's very much, to me, it reminded me of, you're sitting in a cafe and you're overhearing 2 women.
Yeah.
They've been best friends their whole life, and they're really honestly tearing apart their own, what's been happening to them in their lives, and just laughing at it. And that's what it felt like. I was overhearing 2 best friends doing a conversation, but of course, Joanne McNally's a great comedian, and they're just really, really funny. Now, it's very grown up, it's very adult, it's very modern.
So they're talking about serious things in a funny way.
Well, it's dating. It's relationships more than anything. It's dating,
but
relationships.
You have to have something to say. You can't just make a podcast or get up on a stage in 3 Arena unless there's a structure there. You have to be performing.
Yeah, it comes across very naturally, but obviously they have what they're doing. And as I say, Joanne's a great comedian.
I listen to a few podcasts or shows that are live and podcasts, and I listen to people and their interaction, how they get on with them. And I find it frustrating that it's so funny and natural and good and so quick-witted, and so the way they can go to references. I actually be genuine. I'm loving it, but at the same time, I actually be genuinely envious of the skill set that they have.
Yeah, funnily enough, in the other podcast that I was...
That's Dave Moore and Neil Delamere.
Dave Moore and Neil Delamere. I mean, okay, they've planned what they're doing. It's a very traditional kind of setup of a show, I think, in terms of they're going to talk about amazing facts. Stuff you wouldn't have expected. But of course, again...
Okay, I'm going to hit you with an amazing fact. What would you say the most popular male name in Ecuador was last year?
Greg.
Yes? No, sorry,
Greg.
that's my name. I won't bore you on. Liam.
Really?
Liam.
Really?
There you go. Stick that in your
There you
podcast,
go.
Dave Moore and Neil Delamere.
But like, they talk about subjects, amazing facts. Obviously, Neil. This one was the live one with Dermot Gavin. So Neil, I think, is playing to the audience more because he's a comedian and he's got a live audience. So there's a lot more, and he's brilliant at working with the audience. So I think there's a bit more off the cuff there. But again, the amount of facts that they appear to have,
worth a listen
quite
to both
casually
of
at them.
Dave Moore and Neil Delamere. Why would you tell me that? Available on where you get your
thing
podcasts.
I will say, as I say, I'll just say that again about the my therapist ghosted me, is it's very adult. It's almost like two 30-year-old women coming back from Ibiza or wherever they've been, Mallorca, and talking about what they got up to.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what I mean? But
what-
it's
it wouldn't have made it into the.
It's really funny.
You wouldn't have made it into the thrill of it all.
Wouldn't have made it into the thrill.
Right, you've heard Fanula.
Lovely callback.
But wait a moment, because she's going to be joining us formally.
I can't
feel
help
like,
but
you're a guest on your own slot.
I
mean,
know. I can't.
What is going on?
Well,
you're a guest on your own item.
Finally, Michael's starting to bring his real friends, because obviously he doesn't consider me one of those.
Oh God, this again.
And then I came in to be very quiet, but then I can't help. Not my cup of tea that my therapist ghosted me.
Have you listened?
Have you tried it?
Yeah, I have tried it, yeah.
Because I didn't think, my wife Deirdre, because we were listening in the car, and it wouldn't be her sensibilities. But once she got over I can't believe they're talking about this, she actually laughed a lot.
Oh, no. Oh, God, no.
Humour, though, is fun. But humour is very, very, very subjective. But
podcasts, you talk about target audience, Dahi. Podcasts are particularly targeted.
Oh, and I can say they don't suit me, but like they filled the point, as I still call it, the point. I refuse to move forward in time. They filled the point, I think, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And actually watched I don't know if you talked about it there, but I watched the one with Roy Keane.
So this is a problem. You should have come in at 12:30.
I know.
Because I have to take 2 ad breaks, and we also
we
have
won't
to...
even talk about your ad breaks, because that's,
No, I'm actually really good now. Linda, she's on holiday, so I am actually...
Poor JB, like.
No. I have turned off complete new leaf.
Are you? You've realised that unlike Ryan Tuberty, your money actually comes from the ads, not from just like general people sending us checks.
Under the table. All right, back after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is a guaranteed 17 million euro. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Visit Donegal County Museum for the Conflict to Division Donegal 1919 to 1925. The exhibition explores the story of the War of Independence, Partition and Civil War in County Donegal and highlights some of the events from this period that impacted local communities. Donegal County Museum is located on the High Road, Letterkenny, and admission is free. For further information, call 074 9124 613, email museum@donegalcoco.ie or find us on social media. Donegal County Council, supporting our communities and protecting our heritage.
Get ready for an epic summer with Irwin's Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana. Everything you need to make the most of our Irish summers. From the highly sought after Ninja barbecues to outdoor speakers, Dyson fans, big screen TVs, Bluetooth speakers and small appliances. We've got you covered. Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Test drive the Suzuki S-Cross at Barry Brown Cars Milford at their test drive event from the 19th to the 24th of June and avail of the 0% finance offer. That's right. Secure your 232 Suzuki S-Cross at 0% interest this week at Barry Brown Cars Milford, your main Suzuki dealer in Donegal. Finance subject to status, terms and conditions apply.
The Jive Time Show will be coming live this Friday from Dunfanaghy Golf Club for their 24 for 24 charity golf event. We have the usual great music and chat and a few giveaways on the day. So join us this Friday at Dunfanaghy Golf Club from 2:30 to 5 p.m. Thank you to Arnold's Hotel, the White Atlantic Camp and Boise Centre Dunfanaghy for supporting our outside broadcast.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the train station and in studio with us now, because that's what it sounds like. Dahi Ramsey still, of course. Michael Leddy there, they too are. Look at them, so handsome. And we also have, I mean it, Fanula Rabbit as well. Fanula. Right, okay. You have come in. It's complicated. Don't know how to even explain it to the listeners, but you haven't left this item. It's just a happenstance for today. But you're also going to talk to us about a nice...
I was, you see, I'm not here today because I'm here for just half an hour before I head off to take my plane to go on my holidays and leave all you, as they say, losers behind.
The great unwashed.
While I sun myself for 2 weeks. So I was all excited. But then this happened, and now I'm trying to think about whether or not I should change my flights and come back because I'm so excited.
What is it then?
We're about to announce. So, as we mentioned before, Michael and I were very privileged to go over to Eclipse Cinema to see their new luxury cinema that they've opened up, and it's absolutely beautiful. And while we were there, to be honest, I hold my hand up, it was my first time in Eclipse because I have a tendency to be a bit lazy. And I went to Century here.
Because you're based in Letterkenny.
Yeah, because I'm based in Letterkenny, so I usually go over to Century. But went to Eclipse, absolutely loved it, and said to them, if there's ever anything that you've got going on, we'd love to do it. Because we're always doing trips and doing different things like that, but they tend to be for older people and not necessarily for kids. So, by the by, then, I get a phone call yesterday, all exciting, that they are giving us an Irish premiere. So brilliant. So on the week of the 7th of July, Friday the 7th of July, is the launch of the long-awaited chain. Dates have been pushed out. Everything's happened. This movie was supposed to come out, I think, last year nearly, the way they were talking about it.
It's a long time coming, yeah.
It's a long time coming, and they kept changing the dates. And the movie is Elementals. Pixar's Elementals. Anyone who's a big fan of the movie Inside Out, which was all about the feelings and, anger and sadness and happiness and that kind of thing, and how they all kind of managed to live together in a little girl's head, will absolutely adore this movie, and we're very excited and know this movie is coming because this is kind of like the next step on from that.
Shall we listen to a little bit of the trailer here?
Absolutely.
Nothing weird going on here.
Just a little pruning. Water is always getting into something. Help! And fire? As ordered. We run a little hot.
All right, we'll let that play out in the background for those of us that are watching it, but it looks gorgeous.
Oh my
really
God,
does.
it looks I've been so excited about this movie. I've been waiting and waiting for it. It looks so amazing. Instead of talking about the emotions, which they did before, what they've done now is they've taken the elements. So it's earth, well, what they call it land. So it's land, fire, water, and air. And basically they all live in a city together. And it's all about the different complications, how they're all so different, and then they find that they have things in common. And it's 100%.
Right, so what we're going to be doing here is, and this is so exciting for younger people as well, we are able to tell, or young people who win this, get involved, are able to say that they went to the Irish premiere.
Yes, this is. I think it's one other place in which it's being shown.
It's
so
the
this
Irish
is
premiere.
it 100. I'm actually not even sure where the
There's
one
only
other
one
place
other,
is.
but this
it
is
might be, but
an
this
Irish
is,
premiere.
and it most 100% is a premiere.
And you get to see it before anybody else. This is a special screening.
Yes, because what we're actually doing is the launch date is the Friday the 7th, and what we've done is we have a premiere in association with Eclipse for Wednesday the 3rd. So you will see it before all of your friends, before the birthday parties, the whole thing. So the 5th. You're right.
Yes.
Sorry, Michael signaling me there.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday the 5th. I beg your pardon. So Wednesday the 5th, we will be showing the premiere at 3 o'clock in the clips. I am hoping that people will come either all dressed up in their premiere clothes or else they will come in their Disney outfits, and it's going to be very exciting.
Have a lot of fun with it.
Absolutely, have a lot of fun with it. Now, the only thing about it is obviously we are restricted by numbers. So in order to get as many people as we can into it, we've decided to run a little competition. So all of next week, from Monday to Friday, across the shows at different times, we will be giving away family passes to Elemental's premiere on Wednesday, the 5th of July. So on Monday, we're going to give away, you're going to start it on your show and be the first one. Then we're going to do, David James is going to give away a family ticket. Then Lee will, after that.
Marty's in for Lee next week.
Well,
Semantics,
yeah.
but you know yourself.
No, absolutely. Marty will be giving them away in the morning and then JB, then yourself again on Wednesday, and then Ivan in the evening time, Marty again, and David then on Thursday, and then yourself and JB will give away the last
So listen
pairs.
to the programme all next week, right across all programming. We'll explain at that time what you'll need to do, but it's effectively, we're going to invite you to send a WhatsApp video or voicemail, but we'll give you that cue to get in part across those shows, and you and your family, your young people and your family, can go along to this premiere and see this. It's going to be one of the biggest films of the year, family films certainly, Elemental in
the Eclipse Cinema in Lifford.
It's all very exciting.
Absolutely. Look, it's really exciting, and it doesn't matter about your family size. You know, I'm assuming that most people will be going like one adult and X number of children. Don't worry about it. When I say a family ticket, I don't necessarily mean it has to be
four in the traditional
four
sense.
in the traditional sense.
Okay.
That's why I'm being very kind of cautious with the numbers, because obviously I don't want somebody to have to leave somebody behind, because you cannot buy tickets to go to this. This is purely going to be...
It's a premiere.
It's a premiere.
We're going to encourage you
can't
next
buy
week to
tickets
dress up, to wear dresses Disney, dresses one of the characters, whatever. Paint your face orange like fire.
100%. And what we're hoping to do then, as you say, what I'd like to see is to have the some of the children to either send in a video message or a WhatsApp message letting us know exactly why they should be the ones that are chosen to go and how big fans they are of Disney.
June, across the day, all next week. Fanula Rabbit, enjoy your break. Well earned, by the way, between what you do here and the chamber and everything else. I want to pay a
all
rise.
this good stuff is happening when I'm gone.
I want €345,000 over the next 7 years, all that kind of stuff. Dahi, listen, it's always great to have you up on the show as well, and I mean that in earnest. Thank you so very much. And last but not least, Michael, we couldn't do it without you. You are the mainstay. You're the regular set of hands. Thank you so very much
Great
indeed.
fun. I love it. Great fun.
Thanks to Donna Marie and Niamh Shields for the work on the show today. We're all back with you on Monday. Have a lovely, safe weekend, everyone. John Bresson's next.
The 9 till